That's right. We got a great show for you guys tonight. What an exciting weekend. A lot of new games, new technology coming out. It's just a great time to be a gamer, as we were just talking about before the show. By the way, guys, hit that like button. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Your name comes up in lights. Also, guys, I did a couple of things with my mixer. I always like to let the audience know this. I did a couple of things with this new mixer again. Tweaked a few things. So let me know real quick if you can hear me all right, if you can hear the panel all right. If there isn't, I can make a quick change. So it's not a problem. It's something I can do on the fly. That being said, I want to say shout out to everybody here. I see the great Zuby Tech. It's late over there, Zuby. You must be very, very excited about my PSVR2 talk that we're going to be doing tonight. I see your boy Roy. The DeFloyd is here. Blade X, Kratos 99, Danelle Brown. Danelle, I know you don't like New York sports teams, but buddy, I'll tell you, we got a lot in common. Archwar Angel, you're back home. Archwar Angel, I appreciate that, buddy. Really, really appreciate you joining the Mooch Maniac family members. You know your room's upstairs, buddy. There's plenty of food and drink in the fridge, buddy. I appreciate you coming home. These guys are fantastic. It really means a lot to me. Like I said, now you'll see this great panel that we have. We've got a lot more people joining us as the show goes on. They're all working and coming in a bit late. But while we actually take a few moments here, take a look at that phenomenal description. The description of tonight's show right there. It's phenomenal. Right above it is a like button, a subscribe button, and a join button. If you guys will do what Archwar Angel just did and consider joining the channel, it really, really means the world to me. Let me say shout out to these great people because I see them all kind of shuffling in right now. The great Sir X-Man, JudaZuk, WoolleyGamer, MumbleRanting Gaming, Tyson Web 509, TrueWiddy, Big Chuck 777, Alphonso Carter, BRAP, who might be coming in later. We don't know. He might. Jamie, Damion, the great Jimmy Harrison, who I know is here, Andy Hart, Isaac Gentry, Red Hood 420, Hamsolo05, shout out Ham, Rob Jones, DadOfWar, Night Ripper 7, Toto Dope, Kratos 99, shout out to Kratos, Thumbs, JC 2013, Get This Work, shout out to Get This Work, outstanding name, love it that he's here as well, and a special shout out to the great Ice Queen Gaming. I told her to give her a special shout out. She's having a very, very family-oriented weekend. We'll leave it that way. And I want to say shout out to her and her family. The Mooch Maniacs, the major Mooch Maniacs, pardon me, Sergeant 12, Seattle Chef, Muck 45, Michael Kimona Jr., Noel Origins, Newtonian, Truth Serum, Brosy Brosum, Raji, Chris 713, Newtonian, Newtonian, I'm so excited you're here. I put your name twice. My fault. Your boy Roy, Scolari Brothers, Smokes 901, DC Gaming. Shout out to DC, by the way. DC went ahead and gifted a ton of subs to so many people over the past couple of weeks. So shout out to DC. I appreciate that. Miko, Gaming with Persona, someone you just might hear from in a moment. The great Jay Barry, who both do What's Up PlayStation. You guys already saw it. Was all over Twitter. They're not doing a show tomorrow, but they'll be back next Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, the Lord's time. Supreme Samurai, Tactical Gamer, Danelle Brown, That Guy Smitty, 4-Star General, Brian B., a.k.a. Delirium Blades, and our VIP Mooch Maniacs, Domino Zero, Marty the Ambassador, Bison, Shadow Assassin, Strictly! Shout out to Strictly Gaming, who got another dub in the new Warzone 2. I got to play with him this weekend. The Wise Old Gamer and our honorable mentions, Julian Johnson, Percolator 9000, Hustle and Motivate, Slang Chalain, Dre Watson, D-Watt. Guys, come home. They're out there without food, water, or toilet. I'm very, very concerned. And our forever Mooch Maniacs, Longshot 316, and the great Optimus Code. Guys, what a show we got for you guys. And I just want to say shout out to am I saying it right? Is it the Ruham? He says, great. It definitely is. Ruham, thank you for that. The super chat's working. It's a miracle. And Domino Zero, pardon me, Octopath Traveler 2 hype. There's so much going on, Domino Zero. There's so many games to get to. But before we get to the games, let me get to this phenomenal panel. Let me start with the one and only. We already introduced him. He needs no introduction. The great Gaming with Persona is on the show tonight. Persona, I took you away from your Friday night gaming, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate you being here. Persona, how you doing tonight, buddy?
Hey, man, I'm doing good, man. Shout out to you, Mooch. Shout out to the panel, man. It's a great panel of people here tonight, man.
Yes, sir.
Always love, being on the show, Mooch. Who's yelling, Mooch? Stop yelling.
This damn guy can't stop yelling.
Shout out to the chat, man. I say it, man. The chat has embraced me, Mooch. They love me.
Yes,
now. I think I'm a part of the family officially. They ran me through the ringer just to see if I had tough skin. They realized Persona's got tough skin. He could definitely be a part of the Mooch family. They love the chat loves me now. You feel me? But yo, listen, I know it's gonna be a great show tonight, guys. Listen, make sure y'all hit the like button, and share the stream out. And shout out to everybody here, man. Appreciate y'all, and thanks for having me, Mooch, again.
Absolutely, Persona. It's going to be a great show. The great Merc305 is joining us. And Merc, there's going to be a lot of great subjects tonight that are really going to hit home. I know, like, everyone's always classified as somebody, right? Somebody's an Xbox guy, someone's a PlayStation guy. Now we have our PC guys that are here. Merc, you're a PC guy. I say that in air quotes. It doesn't mean literally you're a gamer, buddy. But welcome to the show, buddy. How you doing tonight?
Hey, man, thank you for the invite. Always great to be on, man. Always great to be on. Great panel, great topics. I see you lined them up nicely today.
Yes.
And yeah, man, absolutely, man. Looking forward to getting into it.
Great to have you here, Merc. And last but certainly not least, the man himself. You guys know him. He is the Kratos of PlayStation Nation, the great J-Dub City. Jay, we got so much to cover tonight. And I said, boy, if there's a night to get J-Dub on the show, this would be it. Jay, how you doing this evening?
Doing good, man. I got my binoculars. I'm looking out the window up in the sky, trying to locate me some Sony PlayStation executives up in the sky with the planes.
Yes.
Let's get it.
Well, thank you. You're doing the Lord's work for us. I appreciate that, Jay. That being said, I'll go ahead and start. I like putting the guys on the hot seat right and first and foremost. But this is kind of going to be fun, right? So, Persona, I'm going to start with you real quick because we were just talking about it before the show. Oh, no, this is going to be, we're going to ease into tonight's hot topics.
Okay.
We're going to talk PSVR2 right now. We're going to talk about, I told you this. I haven't gotten my email yet that says it has been shipped. Okay, I've got it that it says prepared to ship, but not shipped yet. But in all honesty, you've been looking at all the reviews. You've watched the videos. You've followed so many people on Twitter that are in the know with VR, these people that live, breathe, and just sweat VR in and day out. What do you think, and what are you expecting from PSVR 2? Is it living up to the hype for you?
Yeah, man. So, first off, PlayStation, what's going on with my shipment? It's been saying preparing for ship
Me too.
2 days now. And the box ain't that damn big.
It's
you
not.
Understand? It ain't that big. You understand? Like, what's taking so long? It was no delay in taking my money. So what's going on?
What is the problem?
No, but a lot of people are definitely singing the praises of PlayStation VR. I haven't really been able to watch every single one. And the reason for that is I watched a couple. Some of them I didn't necessarily agree with 100% when it came to certain talking points of like, this VR being too expensive, it should be cheaper. Yes. And these are things that shout out to Bari, because me and Bari we were talking about this like all week behind the scenes. And PlayStation VR is an enthusiast device. It's not necessarily something that's meant to be mass adopted. It's meant to be. It's kind of like with pro controllers when it comes to more expensive cars and all these other things. They're not meant to be mass adopted. It's more so because it's meant to be an enthusiast type of thing. But they're saying I'm breaking up. Am I breaking up to you guys?
You sound good to me.
No, you sound good.
No, the chat's saying I'm breaking up. I don't know. But so yeah, I think when it comes to what I've been seeing though, a lot of people are loving this headset. They're loving how easy it is to set up, which I think is going to be a really big selling factor with PlayStation VR 2 compared to the first one, where you needed to have a rocket science degree to set up the first PSVR. And for me personally, I'm extremely excited for PlayStation VR 2. I was an early adopter of PSVR 1 as well. I love that headset and love the games that I did play on it. But one of the things that held it back for me, where it kind of fell to the wayside, was that it was a really big chore to set up. So the fact that PlayStation VR 2 was much more streamlined in that department, and then we're seeing things like the eye tracking, which is making the image much clearer based on where you're looking. Not necessarily, with the cameras and everything connected directly to the headset, which means it allows for much more free movement within the area of your space where you're gaming. The PSVR 2 controllers with the DualSense Edge features inside of them. Like, it's just so many different things that I'm really excited about for PlayStation VR 2, and I can't wait. It's a day one. I'm on it next week heavy.
So I like what you brought up there, Persona. You kind of hit a thing. Guys, just keep in mind, we are going to get into the games. I have a list of the games. We're going to talk about what everyone's planning on picking up for that first week. But J-Dub, I got to ask you, Persona hit something that I see a lot of people saying, and I feel like it's one of the things, right? So everybody on this panel does YouTube content. I feel like when you do a review of anything, you've always got to do the good, the bad, the ugly, right? You have to do your due diligence, and I respect that and I get that. But a lot of people are running with the only true negative I can find is it's costly. Well, Jay, when I say this to you, like we've been saying this for the better part of 10 years now that I've known you specifically, is that we've been saying first of all, gaming's not an inexpensive hobby, first of all. Second of all, when you look at VR as a whole, when you look at the technology that the PSVR2 puts out, doesn't it actually give you more bang for your buck than if you were to go do anything? And I know you have a PC that's more than capable of doing VR. So, I mean, wouldn't you need to, and we're going to actually, and Merkel will also contribute to this conversation in a minute, but Jay, what do you think when you hear about that stuff and people say that it's expensive? I didn't think that this was outrageously expensive. I mean, would I like it to be $100? Sure. But then would we be getting the finest and the latest tech in that headset for that cheap price? I don't think so.
Well, Mooch, it's this right here, right? You got a bunch of things going against it. You got the fact that Sony's producing it, right? That's a knock against it. If anything Sony does, anything PlayStation does, it's got to be negative, right?
Right.
On top of that, I own every single VR headset out there. Everything from the HTC Vive to the Oculus Rift to the CV1 Oculus, on and on and on, right? I've owned them all. I do the VR racing and and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just laughable that Sony, right, that makes a console, finally comes up with a high-end VR that not just meet the expectations of the PC, but it surpasses it in a lot of ways. Introducing new technologies such as the haptic feedback in the helmet, the foveated rendering, the 4K HDR, and all other technology that's built in, that even the resolution, everything from the resolution is higher than the nearest competition is a $1,500 headset with the Quest Pro.
Right.
And I find it funny that people did a review on that and it's like, oh, it's great, it's wonderful. $1,600, right? They didn't say anything about it's too expensive there. But here we are, a console, $399. You can have a high fidelity, cutting edge, graphical, everything, all the bells and whistles.
Yep.
For $499, and people, oh, it's too expensive. It's the most dumbest thing I've ever had. Because again, go elsewhere and buy a high-end VR headset. Not only is it $1,500, but you have to buy a high-end PC that's probably going to run you about $3,000 to be able to play it at its full fidelity.
Easily.
Yeah.
Easily.
So it's like it's equivalent to saying, okay, $800 versus $5,000. Well, the $5,000 is great and fine. I don't mind spending that, but God damn it, that $800, we can't have that. This is just asinine.
Jay, Merc. Well, go ahead, Persona. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was going to say, like, J-Dub brings up a good point because you always see people kind of bring up these weird scenarios of, oh well, even though the headset is $500 or whatever, I still need to buy a console. And it's like, yeah, well, you also need to own a TV. You also need to live in a home. You also need to have electricity. You also need to have you bring these nonsensical things into the conversation in a hobby that you really don't need to be in 100%. Like, if it's something that's out of your league or out of your price range, don't buy it. Like, it's that simple. It's not that difficult. And we see a lot of people, and obviously we know it's for the console war stuff and, to kind of push that narrative and whatnot. But when you really peel back the layers, it really makes no sense.
No.
Well, I want to say this one thing. The Xbox was supposed to have, right? Microsoft said that they were going to give you high-end fidelity VR. Shout out to Phil Spencer for telling us that.
Right.
And how much do you think that was going to be if it would have came out? You think it was going to be $299? $199? I mean, what is the optimal price for a high-end fidelity VR with all the bells and whistles? What is the magic price for people who think that this is too expensive?
I'll give you I guess since PC is my primary platform, right? I'll give you my take on it.
No, go ahead.
I mean, listen, it's still, I don't think it's priced incorrectly. I actually think it's priced fairly for what you're getting. And it's just like Persona said, it's still the cheapest entry point into a good VR experience that you can get into, right? On PC, you're definitely going to spend more than that. And then buying a PS5 and getting, you know, the PSVR 2 headset, right? It's still, you know, if that price is too high, what are your other options to go get like what's that cheap one, the one that Facebook has, that Meta has? What's that thing called?
The Quest 2, and that's I think $299.
Exactly. Go get yourself a Quest 2, and you're gonna have a pretty limited experience. It's not gonna meet what PSVR 2 is doing. So when I hear, oh man, it's priced too expensive, I'm like, listen, it's still the lowest cost of entry to get a decent VR experience. What looks to be what's going to be a good VR experience. You know what I mean? On the PC, yeah, to your point, J-Dub, you are going to spend more money. Sure, you can get a more premium experience, but it's going to come at a premium price.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
I think that goes with, that goes with anything when it comes to technology.
Correct.
Right? This is something that I said a long time ago when people were complaining about the PlayStation VR1's price point. And I said, when it comes to innovation, what are you willing to pay? Because innovation costs.
Agreed.
Great technology costs money. And in a hobby like gaming, shout out to Bari. Bari has said this a number of times on WUPS. Gaming is an expensive hobby. It's a very, very expensive hobby, or it has the ability to be, depending on what you're trying to get into. So sometimes, again, I know people might not like this, and I'm not trying to gatekeep or anything like that, but everybody's not in the same lane, and that's okay.
Agreed. Not everybody can have a 4090.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone can't get that, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But see, what happens is, in the world of social media, FOMO sets in, and people feel left out. And so you get these weird conversations of, well, everyone should be able to get it at an affordable price. And I'm like, that's not how technology works. That's not how
it's never been like that.
Works.
It's never been like that, Persona, no matter what. It doesn't even if we step out of gaming, it's never been like that. If you want the latest and greatest, you always pay a premium. Now, let's also talk about it the other way around, right? When you are that first customer, you also could get a lemon. You could have problems. People say that all the time. I'm glad I waited 6 months. I'm glad I waited 12 months. Not only did I get a reduction in price, but they fixed this or they fixed that. There's pros and cons to everything. This has been since the beginning of time. This isn't a PSVR 2 talk. This goes for across the board. And I've really put a lot of footage up. They just did the breakdown of the headset, and they did the breakdown of the controller we'll have in a moment. But this is the Switchback game, which I'm very excited for. It comes out in March. I want to say shout out to the great Jimmy Harrison. He says, "What is up, brothers? Good to see you all. Persona J, always good to see you. Much love." Jimmy Harrison says, "Let him know, Kratos. I'm sold now, bro," which basically you just sold him, JW. You just sold the great Jimmy Harrison on a headset. And shout out to Scolari Brothers. He says, shout out to Mooch, the panel, and all the gamers in the chat. I'll catch you all on the replay. Scolari Brothers, I appreciate you being here, buddy, and thank you for that super chat as well. Allow me real quickly to introduce the great Kay Asante, who's here, who couldn't have picked a better night to be here because he's Mr. VR himself. And the great slow-mo backslap has just joined as well. Kay, great to have you both here and join us.
Hear me?
Yeah, Kay, you sound great, buddy. I promised the audience more people would show up, and poof, just like that, here you are. Kay, what's your take overall on PSVR 2? Are you on a buy? Are you on a hold? Or are you on a pass?
First and foremost, welcome. I appreciate being allowed to be on the show. Thank you guys so much.
Of
Great
course,
panel
Kay.
members. It's always great to be able to chop it up with you guys. But okay, so VR. Let's see here. It's an interesting topic that I've heard a lot of folks talking about in the community. I don't know where you guys come at it from VR, but for me, as Mooch said, I tend to be the VR guy. With the exception of maybe one or two, I think I have every entry level and next gen VR headset like at home now. I own the Valve Index, which was the most expensive thing I bought for a long time. I bought that before my son was born, so that was my last present to myself. But yeah, so about PSVR 2, speaking from just a straight technology perspective, and I'm a technologist, it's what I do for a living, infrastructure architect as my day job, so I deal with tech all day. I love that stuff. So from that perspective, this device is actually probably rightly priced, if not underpriced, for what you get in the market.
Speak to it, Kay.
Right. No, it's true.
It is true.
It is point blank. Now, you know, I'm gonna speak to both sides of the house here. Like, as a technologist, I see what I get for what I'm getting, right? And it is absolutely, you know, and they put an emphasis on comfort because they know that you're going to be playing a console, which tends to be more than just a few minutes, more than just 30 minutes at a time or whatever. So, you know, they really put an emphasis on comfort and a few other factors there. They have really, really brought it home. Now, I tend to be the person that goes, oh, you say high end. Most consoles are considered are like, to me, and I know I'm not going to get any fans about this, but when you say high end and you're not talking PC, then you're just laughing. I'm laughing at you because to me, it's like, you know, I've said this on other shows. You know, the Lexus and the BMWs will get those features, and then every once in a while they'll put it in a Honda Civic, and you think you got high end, right? So there are differences between the really high end stuff
accurate to me.
I know slow-mo's gonna be with me.
I was gonna say, I know slow-mo might
there
agree with you.
There are differences between that and when they bring it to that home console, right, and that home experience, that turnkey experience that you want, right? And with that comes certain connotations, right? So from a technology perspective, absolutely, you get what you pay for. It looks like they've, unlike PSVR 1, which, you know, we can go shot for shot on that. I will tell you, they underpromised, they underdelivered, and they overpromised on that one. It was basically, you know, shoddy parts they put together because they were dipping their toes in the water. Even by the standards back then, they shouldn't have done it because it gave a bad impression because the tech just wasn't there, and they still made it work. You know, and it gave a lot of people the muddy experience. This time around, no, they're not doing that. They went full bore. They're tip of the spear. They're giving you like as high end as they can in a living room setting, right? And with that foveated rendering, they're able to really target where you're looking. Well, foveated combined with eye tracking, they're able to target where you're looking and give you the best there while saving resources elsewhere. So it can fake you into seeing far more and far better than you would have, than the PS5 is frankly capable of. They're just focusing their energy very smartly. Really, really, really great tech, right? So it's absolutely worth the money that you're paying. But because it's in that living room setting and you know the audience you're catering to with that living room setting, right? That's where the other side of the house comes in. And although I can look at it from a technical perspective and tell you get what you pay for, I can also understand the folks that go, come on now, they subsidize all the stuff. Why can't they subsidize this one, right? And for me, as a person who is all in on VR and wants it to become a mainstream thing, I think it's unfortunate that we don't have a company that is willing to, well, not willing, but is able to subsidize it at a price that gets everyone in, right? I know they can't. I know
that doesn't make sense though. That doesn't make sense.
It makes absolute sense because if you don't have a Tesla Model X, you'll never have a Tesla Model 3. That Model X subsidizes the 3's cost. They had to sell enough X's. They had to sell enough Valve indexes to people like me in order for eventually the technology to come down and to be able to be profitable while still selling it at a lower cost.
Over time,
while PlayStation can't do that, and we understand that they can't do that, right? It is unfortunate that, hey, we wish that somebody could do that to push it into the living room in a bigger way, right? So, like, for me, you know, I'm not saying that, oh, you shouldn't buy it. It is technology that's
Persona, go ahead. Persona, go ahead. I want to hear you.
That doesn't make sense because when you compare it to other VRs on the market, it's severely underpriced next to the second or the best the best VR on the market. So to say that this needs to be subsidized or this needs to be the Quest Pro, whatever it is, that's in the thousands, just like 1,000.
We're not talking about the Pimax. We're not talking about the Pimax. We're not talking about any of the
Quest
other.
Pro and the Pimax and the others are not for the audience that the PS5.
It does not matter.
We know that.
Matter. It's still a niche. It's still a niche product. And when you look at the sales numbers of the PlayStation VR 1. That sold 5 million at $400. When we're looking at PlayStation VR 2, that's got even more technology in it, and it's providing more bang for the buck. I absolutely see.
And like
again,
I don't see a problem.
Can I finish my point?
You can't because you didn't let me.
Can I finish my point?
No, you can't because you didn't let me. I'm sorry.
Okay, you were going or extremely long
all
term.
I'm saying was,
That's why
all
I'm
I'm
trying to get my
saying
point
is,
is the point that I'm
all
trying to
I'm
make. The
saying
point that
is-
I'm trying to
Hold on,
make
Kay,
is
let
when it comes to the
Persona finish it.
PlayStation
You
VR
get the
2,
mic back.
it's giving you more bang for the buck, and it's more competitively priced.
that's well, okay. If you're combining all audiences that could potentially use VR at all,
But VR is not meant to be VR is not meant to be mass adopted. It's not meant to be mass adopted.
Is for the Quest Pro was specifically, even though let's be clear, I don't think that was a good move. The Quest Pro was specifically marketed for business audiences, and that's why the price is so exponentially high. The Quest Pro is supposed to be the Model X to the eventual Quest 3, which will be the Model 3 for more.
Yeah, but we can only
normal
compare it to what's out right now. We can't compare it
But
to
that's
something in the
exactly it.
future.
If you're going to compare it to what's out right now, you must also compare it to the
That's why
demographic
we were
that you're trying
comparing
to
it.
game it
That's
for.
why we're comparing it to the Pro, right? To the
But
highest.
the Pro is
okay,
not to the same. The Pro is not the
What do
same
you okay?
demographic
What
as the
VR is
PSVR 2.
what VR now do you want to compare it to the PS?
Yeah, which one would you compare it to then, Kay?
Name
Right
it,
now,
name it,
right
name it.
now,
Right now,
right
name
now,
it.
the PSVR 2 is compared to the Quest 2 for normal, everyday
How?
people.
No,
And
it's
in that-
not. Let me tell you, as a person who owns all of these, it's not.
As do
the
I.
Quest 2, right? And listen, I'm not saying you don't. I'm just telling you I do as well, right?
Mhm.
And the Quest 2, right, is coming in at that price, you know, that $399. They finally bumped the price. You know, you can catch it for
They brought the
$299
price
at
up.
some spots
Yeah.
and stuff like that. Yeah. Right? So for that does not compare to what you're getting with the PSVR 2.
Well, see, no,
Wait.
Hear me. I'm not saying you're comparing tech to
Not
tech.
only spec wise,
Because Quest
but even
2
the
is last-
audience. But even the audience, right? Again,
Okay, explain.
like you said,
Explain the
Quest
audience.
2 is
Yeah.
right. The audience is the people who don't have a high-end PC or someone who have a PC. They still want to be able to play Beat Saber and some of the other stuff. It has the mobile chip in it, right? Where it runs off of a battery. You get, you know, several hours off of it. It's meant for that. That's who it's meant for. That's their audience. That there.
And by the
you
way,
can connect
forget
it.
that the Quest
Listen,
2
you
also
can
connects
connect
to
it.
PC.
If you let me finish, I was going to say that. That was my
Please.
point. You can connect it to your PC and have a better experience with it because you're using the power of the PC to have that experience. But when you think about the controllers itself, it doesn't have haptic feedback. It doesn't have a lot of the functionality. It's actually bare. It's actually pretty bare bone compared to some of the other VR headsets that's out there.
So,
And
what
then
you're forgetting is that you're comparing. Look. That Quest 2 is to the same audience, but the Quest 2 itself is last gen tech. You're comparing that to this gen tech, which obviously will blow it out the water.
So that's what we were saying.
3 comes out.
So
but
it's okay for you to compare PSVR 2, which is new tech, right? It's okay for you to compare that to PlayStation new tech, but I can't.
What I'm saying. You're misunderstanding what I'm saying. What I'm
Can
saying
I
is they
interject for a
they have a
moment?
business lane. I will let you.
Hey.
Let me just please get my point out, and I will let
Go
you.
ahead,
I'll let you in. Okay. Well, all I'm saying, and this is not an argument. All I'm saying is they have different lanes of people that they're trying to reach. Right now, they have a Quest 2 lane. That tech is old tech at this point. And as soon as before the end of the summer, you will see a Quest 3. Right. That's the same lane as the PSVR 2.
It won't matter.
The same demographic there. Now, when the Quest 3 comes out, then you can see some back and forth. Doesn't mean that because the Quest 3 ain't out right now, that now you can only compare it to the Pro. The Pro is they're trying to ship that to companies that are making like they're designing cars, and they use that as for my.
You are trying to compare something that is not even out on the market that's coming in the future to PSVR 2. Like, what are we doing here, man?
By your narrative,
I want to interject.
Go ahead, Slow-Mo.
For a moment.
Go ahead, Slow-Mo.
As someone who owns a Quest 2, but I don't care for VR. Like, I tried VR, it wasn't for me. So I'll speak, but I did enough research on VR before I made my decision to jump in there. That I can at least hang in these waters with you guys in this conversation.
Sure.
VR as a market is too niche to be talking about it, or this is just for a console VR person, or this is just for a PC VR person. It's too niche to be even putting it into those kind of waters. So
that I don't disagree.
That was the point I was trying to make originally, Slow-Mo.
Yeah, so it's like
that's literally what Persona said.
So now, and this is where I do agree. I agree with Persona and J-Dub in this because it's like it's appropriately priced. The K, you said this. It's appropriately priced.
Yeah.
For the technology. If you think about it, it's like $150 more than the Quest 2. It has better pass through, better motion tracking. It has real foveated rendering, whereas Quest 2 has fixed foveated rendering. It's a better
feedback.
Yeah, it's a better VR headset, and so it's appropriately priced for what it is. Now, just because it's the console market doesn't matter because there are people like me in the well, I'm a PC, more of a PC gamer, but if like there are people like me who don't care about VR, will never care about VR, and it doesn't matter if somebody dropped the price to $300, they're not getting it.
Exactly.
So if they were to drop the price lower to try to get more people in, it wouldn't matter. They'll just be losing money at that point because there are people who are just not going to care about VR.
Not only that, but just to add on to that, when we're looking at it from the entire market's perspective, PlayStation VR2, as we sit right now, would be the easiest way to break into the VR market and possibly get a quality experience.
I don't disagree.
Which is why, and again, and I'm not saying that the Quest Vive Pro 2 or whatever is not a great piece of technology, but if we're talking about something that's both affordable in a sense of adopting affordable in the sense of the niche market that it's in, to where it can stand on its own, but also being a barrier of entry to people who may be 1 foot in or unsure about VR and want to try it. I feel like that investment would be easier to do with something like a PlayStation VR2 than something that requires a bit more of a dedication with a PC and the Vive and all this other stuff. And it would be a bigger thing.
I do not disagree at all there. No, I don't. See, look, and let me be clear here, okay? My argument to this is not that it's the way it should be. I actually criticize them for doing it the way they're doing it now, and by them I mean VR in general, by the companies, because as to your point, to all of your point, the pie of VR is too damn small to be carving it into small pieces, right? That's the reason why when they came out with the Quest Pro, I was like, what the hell's wrong with you people? That market will never be saturated enough to where you'll get enough people to buy into that. And because you're doing that, it may never get to the normal audiences. But every single VR company should be focused on the normals right now to make that pie bigger. But they're not doing that. They're still carving it up.
That doesn't apply to, I feel like the argument that you're making when it comes to this mass adoption, clearly whatever PlayStation, when PlayStation saw the sales of the PlayStation VR 1, and the lifetime sales right now sits at about 6 million. They looked at that number and said that is a respectable number to where we want to invest into a PlayStation VR 2 for our next console. Because if it wasn't acceptable to them, we wouldn't be getting this now. I mean, look at PlayStation Vita. We're not getting no successor to that. So this tells you this tells you that they view that as respectable, and that they want to make something better and try to get more people into it. Now, it's not, again, VR is something that is very niche and is not meant to be mass adopted. It's not meant to be something that is selling in the tens of millions. It's a niche market. But that's what it is. It's not what they want it to be forever. Like, they want it to be something that becomes the future of computing.
If they wanted it right now to be large, right? They would price it appropriately, and the specs will be appropriate.
Well, you can't.
That's not what they want.
Technology is in a place where it can be mass adopted.
It's a peripheral. There is no peripheral that's mass adopted unless it comes with the console or with something.
But that's the thing. I feel the PlayStation VR 2, I think, is appropriately priced. It's technology to quality perspective. Like when we're looking at the tech that's going into it and all that stuff, and what we're getting, I think that is a damn good price of $550 to get.
That's how I feel. That's how I felt.
They're trying to turn it into a TV. See, you said it's an accessory. You're right. Right? Just like a monitor and a TV is an accessory. They're trying to replace your screen with this thing in the future when tech comes down to the level where everyone can just have one, and they've solved that issue. Unfortunately, like Slow-Mo says, the technology, the issues with VR and how much you need to push in order for you not to vomit and the at least 80 frames per second per eye.
90.
Not many people have solved 90 plus. Not many people solved that with fakery with the PSVR 1. Not many people solve that problem, right? And until you solve that problem, you can't hope to mass produce it. So the idea that they wanted to stay niche, no, they wanted to become mass like everything else. It's just, it takes time, right? Iteration over, they have come very far up until now. The first ones were really bad experiments, right? I still have my original Oculus Rift.
I got my SDK, yeah, my Oculus Rift.
You know, I have my Kickstarter right here, the SDK, mine as well. And we have come miles since then.
Absolutely.
But just to say that, oh, they want to keep, no, it's because the technology isn't there yet. Now, let me be clear here. This is just me being self-serving because I want it to be ubiquitous. I want them to solve that problem. And in order for a market like that to happen, the price must be undeniable. And unfortunately, right now, for valid reasons, it is not.
It's never going to happen.
That's the only issue.
Even right now.
That is a theory.
Like they said earlier. Like they said earlier, right? Like someone said earlier, even right now with the Oculus, with the Quest 2, if they drop that price down right now to $199, $149, you are not
still a mobile chip. Nobody wants to rock with a mobile chip.
But like you said, you can plug it into your PC, right? There's billions of PCs out there. It's not because it's a peripheral.
It's not entry level.
It's never gonna be mass.
But the one question I have for Asante, and if I'm missing something, you tell me if I'm wrong here. That's fine. But the Quest 2 has recently taken a price increase, and if we're gonna go as far as if we're gonna go as far as the Quest 3, I listen. Everyone says be careful, never speak in absolutes, right? But I would almost think the Quest 3 comes out at $499.
No, I think the Quest 3 is
more.
Or more, right?
Quest is $399 right now, so the Quest 2 is $399 right now. So of course, especially the 3 is going to be $699. Yeah.
So if that's seeing where the PSVR 2 has come, they raised the floor because I suspect they knew the PlayStation was going to come in higher, so they were like, well, they can eat that because the next.
We hired Airbnb.
Hey, hold on. Before we continue, let me just say one thing to the chat real quick. Hey, yo, chat, it's 400 folks in here, and it's only 101 likes. Let's get them likes up.
Preach. Thank you, Persona. I appreciate that.
What's going on here, people? Let's get them likes up. Let's get them likes up.
Thank you.
No, but I believe that the PSVR, the Quest 3 will also come in expensive because hey, that's the nature of the beast at this point, right? Before it was getting as much people in as you possibly can. Now it's hey, the economy sucks. We're all suffering. We have to claw some of that money back, and it is what it is. You know.
Shout out to the great, and a good point. Shout out to the great Zuby Tech. He says 2 OLED screens, 4 cameras, 10 plus IR sensors, MediaTek SoC, eye tracking, sensing controllers. Its price is more than worth it. A lot of people. The other thing I always think,
like, look at the tech that's going into this thing, man. Like, yo, and it sucks because like I love this conversation, but I need to get it on my face in order to truly have this conversation.
It's true.
You feel me?
It's true.
Pause.
Pause.
That's almost unpausable, but go ahead.
Somebody gonna clip that. Somebody gonna clip that for sure.
Somebody definitely gonna clip that. I need to use the PlayStation VR 2.
That's gonna be on Twitter tomorrow.
Absolutely, it is.
Facts.
I need to use the PSVR 2.
He needs it on his face.
Hey, oh hell no.
That's really great.
Oh man, but yeah, that's what I think, man. Like once this out, we can really have this conversation because we all are going to have used it and really dive deep into it. Pause.
I mean, listen, just by the looks of it, it looks like it's going to be a great device. If anything, at the price point it's at, I definitely think it's pushing the VR market forward. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's it.
Absolutely.
That's it.
So I'm looking forward to it, man, because again, I don't find the price to be like an issue. I think it's priced correctly, just to Kiyosante's point. I agree.
Well, think about it. The first one, but the first PSVR 2 launched at what, $399?
$399, yeah.
But you had to get the controllers, the camera.
Now that was not
and you had all of that stuff, right? And we know the shortfalls for it. That was the first take of it. I enjoyed myself with it. But the move controllers and all that stuff, we know it's old tech. But now you fixed all of those issues, right? You got one single cable. You have all of this tech in that. And they're offering it for you for $499, and people are still like, it's too expensive. And it's like, Jesus, that's just the winning. Like,
Jay, let me be clear here. Let me be clear, Jay. I am not one of those people that's saying, "Oh, it should be cheaper." I am saying it's actually cheaper than it should be. It should be more. But in order for it to be mass appeal, like your grandma just gonna pick it up, it ain't gonna fly for
my grandma's. Listen, I'm gonna tell you the reason why VR will never become.
The whole idea of the Wii and everybody that idea will never happen at that price. And people love VR that much.
Where are you getting this information from, though?
Look, you're not getting mass adoption because the overall public that you want mass adoption from won't try it. And they won't try it.
Absolutely.
And what they do know about VR is like Black Mirror VR, where it's like it's science fiction. You know what I'm saying? I put on some sunglasses and I'm in a VR universe. Like that. That's what they think VR should be. And that's not. Maybe that might be the case in 2045, but like in 2023, this is not happening.
Absolutely, Slow-Mo. Absolutely.
Yeah, but also like when Kay Asante is saying like, oh, this is not going to be this or that or not. Where is this information coming from? You know, like the thing hasn't even released to the mass public yet. You get what I'm saying? Like, so it's crazy that we're speaking in absolutes about something that's not available yet.
I'm speaking the way I'm speaking because I've had many people who have tried it, people that I know that we've.
That's anecdotal, sir. That's anecdotal. That's not.
Oh, sure, of course.
It's anecdotal. That's not something. That's not something that applies. Yes,
that is anecdotal. Your
experience. Well. Yes, you're absolutely right. Which is why we need to wait for the facts, data, and statistics to back up any type of arguments that are being made. When we're looking at the past with the PlayStation VR1, it reached 6 million. And that was a poor, in your words, that was a poor attempt at VR. So what does a proper attempt from PlayStation look like? I think it looks like a PlayStation VR2. So if this is something that reaches a higher plateau,
in order for this, just like Slow-Mo was saying, everybody's talking about Black Mirror VR. All I'm saying is, even though the context matters and the technology matters, and we can discuss the devil in the details, which is what's most important. But to the average consumer, they want it to be far, far better and far, far cheaper. And both things can't happen right now. And that's unfortunate. That's all I'm saying. Because you're not going to be able to get it to where you want it to be, where all those people who are stuck in Windows 95 realize that, oh, it's better now, right? But in order for it to get there, the technology must rise. And unfortunately, we're not there yet.
Here's my opinion. My opinion is, who cares about those people who are never going to buy VR anyway, and those people who are never going to spend more than $100 on a peripheral? Like, really, who cares?
You need to understand why I care about that. I'm not saying for a long time now, there have been maybe a handful of real AAA VR games that are out there that are very, very like amazing, like earth-shattering amazing. And unfortunately, because the pie isn't big enough, not too many of those AAA companies who spend that much money are willing to do so. That's why all you get are
about VR or Xbox. I'm confused.
Oh shit! Oh shit! Oh man!
BRAP, I knew BRAP was going to chime in there. Shout out to BRAP.
I'm checking for airplanes right now.
You need to get back to checking for airplanes, Mr. Method.
You love checking for airplanes. PCMR, but you probably have the weakest GPU in the room here.
Actually, that's not true.
No, I'm still holding that one with my 2080 Ti. Unfortunately, Kay, I got to upgrade.
Understood.
No,
but you know what I'm saying? Like, it's self-serving. Like, if you play Lone Echo, if you play some of these games like made by Ready at Dawn, like, they are life-changing experiences. And unfortunately, you won't get companies to invest that much time and dollars into it because the pie isn't big enough for people to experience it that way. So as a person going on VR,
PlayStation already confirmed 30 games releasing at the launch of this headset. What are we talking about?
Yeah, and we shall see what various levels of quality.
I don't think VR is that life changing, okay? And I as someone I play Lone Echo, and like I was frustrated because I'm just like I just want to. I'm floating in this zero-G spaceship. I'm just trying to get across the room. Can I just get across the room? I'm like bouncing up against
playing that game, man.
I spent about 2 hours trying to get across the room. I'm telling you, like I was
what game was this, Slow-Mo?
Huh?
What game?
Lone Echo. What are you talking about?
Okay.
Which looks amazing. Already at Dawn made it. They, the Order 1886. So you already know where they are when it comes to visual fidelity.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful looking game. I played it connected to my my PC. It was awesome. I actually you have to play it that way because mobile Quest 2 doesn't have the power to do it.
Absolutely, it sucks.
But like,
Mooch, just put something in the chat. Go click. That's the PlayStation blog. Go there and scroll down to the picture of all the games. Like, you know, there's a ton of great games. That's
I got that. Yep, I got
AAA games.
I just want to finish my point. I think they're just people that like for what VR offers. There is a segment, a demographic of gamers that will try it and they'll be like, "Oh my god, this is everything that I've ever wanted." In a video game, and they'll be all in on VR no matter what. But then there's also, I think, a large contingent of gamers that will try it and be like me, try to get across the room and like seeing how beautiful it looks, but just being frustrated when the astronaut says, "Hey, go across the cockpit and hit this button." I'm like,
there's nothing wrong with that, bro. That game was like 2-3 years ago. I'm just asking that more people take a bite at that apple. They will eventually get you with something. If Lone Echo isn't it, I've understood. I just want.
Who's to say PSVR2 isn't? Who's to say PSVR2 isn't that though?
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying. I'm saying the reason I'm
implying that though.
Pie to get bigger. No. I'm not implying that. I'm saying the reason I want the pie to get bigger is because when there's more hands in the pot, there are more companies willing to make for it, whether it's first party or third.
Can I say something? Can I say something?
Yeah.
The best thing about PSVR 2, right, is really the fact that it's on PlayStation's console, and it's their job to support that with high quality content. And the third party partners are already have a lot of games lined up specifically for that. So if they already make, the world's best games for the most part, as far as their first party games, as long as they keep supporting that for VR,
that's it.
I think that's just what it is, right? That's day one. You got the one of the best races out there, right? GT7. You got Resident Evil Village, right? And on and on and on. A full AAA experience with
Horizon. Call them out.
It's not even just that though. The developers are not hindered by the power of a console either.
Absolutely,
they've got much more power to create much better things.
Yep.
I saw a comparison earlier today of Moss 1, which released originally on PSVR 1, and looking at that through a PSVR 2, that's a night and day difference when it comes to the game, of the quality, the backgrounds and all that stuff. But not only that, developers have said that they are actually able to create much bigger and more expansive worlds in VR thanks to the power of the PlayStation and thanks to the power of this PSVR 2 and what it's able to do. You're able to be more immersed in these worlds, and you're doing more things. I mean, just look at Call to the Mountain. That looks incredible to me. Firewalk Ultra. You're gonna be able to, thanks to the eye tracking, you'll be able to look and aim just by looking. Come on, man. We got.
That's the other thing. You have the Switchback game. The Switchback game is saying that the game actually changes when you blink. Imagine that. That's going to add an amount of tension to you.
That technology right there, the eye tracking technology right there, that is the first time in a consumer headset at the price it's in that it is offered. So again, we started this conversation with me in agreement that I wasn't in agreement. I said it's cheaper than it should be because of all the technology that's being offered. So I agree with you all there, right? I 100% do. I hope that I am wrong. We should have this conversation in a year or so when we're all using it.
Oh, we will.
Hopefully it's not the Vita.
Okay, believe me, we will. While the panel
because people said they were PSVR 1. People said they were PSVR 1 if they weren't going to support it, and they're going to. Here we go again.
Here's the difference, though. But that's the difference, though, because the PSVR 1 and the Vita are two different things. The PSVR 1 was technology that came out obsolete. Vita died great. It should have continued going on, and I'm hoping that it doesn't turn into a Vita situation where there's no reason that thing should have died, because it was fantastic, right? PSVR 1, why that got lost quickly makes sense, because it was outshined quickly after it came out in the market. You know what I'm saying?
Here's the thing:
there's a little bit of difference there.
This is okay. This thing is for
It's still
console.
so 6 million.
Who cares about PC? PC is its own lane. I never understand why PC people always dibble and dabble in the console space. Of course, when you spend $5,000 for a PC and $1,600 for a VR, of course. No, listen, and I'm a PC guy, right? I got a 49, I got a high end, I got all the VR, right?
Nobody spent $5,000.
No. I'm just listen. Okay. But now hear me out. Right? Okay. Your video card. All right. Let's say. I mean, what do you?
Are you really going to itemize $5,000?
No.
Yeah.
I'm trying to prove a point.
No,
right?
he's like well, hold on. Let Jay talk. Go ahead.
Really, what would it cost for you to get a high-end VR for PC and a PC to be able to run it? What's that cost? I don't know. Throw a number out there.
Actually, right now,
and try to get some low end and try to come on.
Seriously, right now, the place like today. And I've done recent pricing. Today, a relatively decent headset and a PC that can run it will cost you relatively about the same price as a PlayStation 5 and a PSVR.
I'm done.
Right now,
I'm done. I'm
not saying you're getting 4090.
I'm done. I gotta go.
Yes, for about $1,000.
That's got to be cap. That's got to be some cap there.
Oh, for real, I will PC configure for you right now, and I'll show you that you can do that.
Change the subject. Let's go.
It has come like
motherfuckers is telling someone to have a GIMP experience just to prove a point. That's cap.
Let's go.
I would think, Kay, I thought you were going to say
somewhere.
somewhere.
Who's saying a PSVR 1?
I would never tell somebody to GIMP their experience. Hell no, man. That's cap.
I would say, Kay, I would say you were probably somewhere around 15.
All right.
I would think 1,500, 1,600.
I've been in IT for 11 years, but keep going.
I would think that it would be $1,500 to get a decent experience.
You need to update that.
I'm not sure.
12. Look, on a deal, you can get a comparably spec machine right now. I'm not saying you're getting a 3080. I'm not saying that. But much like how the technology has come a long way since it began, you can now buy laptops that are VR ready, and they'll give you a great experience. And all you need at that point,
we're not talking about just VR. We're not talking about just VR ready, just to run the bare minimum. Come on, man.
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying you're
We're talking about 110
I am not
frames.
saying,
We're talking about 90 frames.
I am not.
Well, let me ask this. Wait.
We're talking about 4K. We're talking about HDR.
Watch this. I'm about to shut this whole conversation down right now.
Go ahead.
So, Asante, this build that you're saying that they can do to get VR and all that stuff, is this comparable to a PSVR 2? Yes or no?
I would not know that.
Yes or no? Yes or no?
Well, actually, probably, sure, probably, yeah,
right,
because of what a PSVR 2. What's the PS5 comparable GPU? A 2060 to a 2080? So yeah, you can finally find one.
2070, a 2070.
There you go. So what are you talking about right now?
But
I'm with that. What are you talking about right now? You're telling me you can't find a laptop with 2080 graphic capability for under $1,000? Come on,
I would never tell somebody to GIMP their experience. Nope.
So the same graphic horsepower in the PS5 is amazing, but on a PC it's gimped. Is that what you're saying, Mister? I've been in IT for 11 years.
Absolutely.
Same graphic power on a laptop that is comparable to a GPU on the PS5, but on the PS5 it's great. On PC it's gimped. Okay, let's move on.
Because of the headset.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's move on, please.
Well, I still think it would be more. Okay, it might be a little bit more because even if you were to be able to find that gaming laptop, like you were saying, that would have a 2070 in it or something of that nature or that equivalency, you probably would be flirting still with the 800, 900 there alone, and then you'd have the headset on top of it.
I'm not saying that you can choose to either buy a PC or buy. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that idea that you need a $5,000 PC before you. That's long gone. That's ridiculous.
I do agree. I do agree about that. There is no. You don't need a $5,000 PC
ridiculous.
that you get anywhere close. I mean, like, come on, like that's not it. But it's. I think the other side, what Persona is trying to say, and Persona, correct me if I'm wrong, is that the VR2 headset itself is not necessarily the PC that is difficult to put together and to get the same experience as the PS5, but you're not, because the PSVR2 is currently and likely will not be jailbroken to work on a PC, so you're not going to be able to get a VR headset that is around that same price on that works on PC.
What I was thinking, and real quick, what I was thinking was,
thank you, Slomo.
You get yourself a PC that has a 20 series card, which by now has taken deep discount. You get yourself a Samsung headset that's PC only. That will give you a comparable experience, and it'll be roughly around the same price.
Imagine telling
the
somebody to get a
headset
card
is the
that's 2
headset that
gens
won't
back.
be-
That's crazy.
Bro,
the head-
that's the PSVR's head. That's the GPU capability, right? What are you talking? Are you
But
now
what I'm saying,
that's
no,
not-
what I'm saying is you're telling somebody on a PC that they can go and get this laptop, this
Bro,
laptop
you asked
GPU.
me a
You
question.
just said they can get a laptop. Did you not just say that?
Bro, you asked me, hey, is it possible?
Did you
to
not
get the
just say
same
that they can get a
I was
laptop?
answering
that's
your
comparable?
question specifically.
Yes, but I'm
I was
asking, did you
answering
not
your
just say that they
question.
can get a laptop that is comparable? Yes, yes,
I
right?
can. Yes, you can.
Okay,
Yes,
so
absolutely.
you're telling them to go get a laptop and go get a GIMP VR that won't be comparable to a PSVR2 just to
That
have
is
an
not the
okay experience.
Oh, stop it.
Well,
Stop
I
it.
think Slow-Mo
Yeah.
kind of put it in
Yo,
the best perspective.
I don't know. Like when I buy shit, I want my experience to be the best. Like, but that's just me. You know.
Sure.
Anyway.
I mean,
Sure.
to
You
your
have
point,
that
Persona,
opinion, you have that right.
I don't think it'll be a comparable experience at the same price. I just think that the benefit of the PC is obviously the ceiling for the quality and the experience is higher. But
I
again,
get that,
it comes as
but-
a price. It comes at a price, though.
Exactly.
Right,
But
right,
even
right.
when it comes to PC, when you want the best, you're gonna have to pay the best.
No,
dollars.
100%.
You get what I'm saying?
100%.
And when
100%.
When we're
100%.
Yeah.
talking about a PlayStation VR2 coupled with a PlayStation 5, it's still that is still the barrier of entry for that is still
No.
significantly
Mhm.
lower than that of a PC where you can get a high enough quality experience. We're talking
Correct.
about a PSVR2 with two
We can
OLEDs
move on.
and all this
Yeah.
other shit. This is crazy.
I mean,
Well,
look,
listen,
to your point,
we'll
and to
come back-
Slow-Mo's point, you're right. I think at the price point, a PS5 and the PS, VR2, I think at that price point, yeah, I agree with you guys. I don't think the experience will be the same
Yeah,
on
I'm
PC.
saying, and these
I actually think
people
it'll
go
be
get
a
laptop and get some
Yeah.
cheap ass headset and,
No,
and have fun.
You
Get
asked
outta
me.
here, man.
That's basically what
asked me.
yeah. No,
Come
I
on,
agree.
man.
I agree with
How
those
to
points,
get
Persona.
that
I agree with that.
comparable-
That's why I said
I would
change the
never
subject,
tell
man.
somebody to get a GIMP version. Get out of here, man.
Sure, you can say that, but hey,
That shit is
you
crazy.
don't know how to do what you're doing, but it's all right. Go ahead. Let's go.
Well, let's do this. While the panel takes a break for a second, I just want to say thanks to the outstanding chat. It's here. By the way, great
Crazy.
crossfire, by the way. This is great. And no, listen, I'll be honest with you, what these guys are actually getting to and what's kind of bothering both sides of the coin here is the fact that these reviews have come out and said a lot of this stuff. And like Persona said, until we actually get a chance to wear it and actually play the games, we'll have a much further in-depth conversation probably next week and the week after.
Hey, Mooch, what kind of car you drive?
Me, myself, personally, you're going to laugh. This is a Honda Accord, which is, I've been
That's
driving
fire.
it forever.
Ain't nothing wrong
No,
with
no,
a Honda
no.
Accord.
You got
Nothing
everything.
wrong with it.
Yeah,
but
there's nothing wrong with Honda Accord.
I love
but you know
it.
what you should buy, Mooch? You should buy a Prius because you get more mileage.
This is true.
Mooch. You know what you need to
Brap.
buy, Mooch. You gotta, dude.
Buy
we
a
talked about
Prius.
this.
Get you a Prius.
Brap, I got to get a what is it you're driving again, buddy?
Gotta get a Yukon.
I got to get a
man.
Denali is what Brap has been telling me for
No, man,
years.
go get you a Hyundai with a 20-year warranty. It was at this like a
Yes,
20
sir.
Like a
Yes,
10-year
sir.
warranty, man.
Yeah,
100,000 mile
30-year
powertrain.
Real
Your
quick,
car
shout out.
won't last a quarter of that time, but at least you got warranty on
Yes,
like.
sir.
Well, we're gonna move.
65
We're gonna move
kills.
over to games real quick, and then we're gonna do a
Go,
speed round
matter of
here.
fact, go to the junkyard and just put some tires on that bitch and just drive it off.
He said it don't matter if you
better.
slide. It's all good. Shout out, by the way, shout out real quick to the great Jimmy Harrison, who was here. Scolari Brothers. Sir X-Man says the first VCR was $700. Who remembers that fact? Sir X-Man,
I
thank
do.
you for
I
that
remember
memory.
Yeah,
I do.
yeah.
Thank you for
I
that
remember
memory. Shout
I
out to
remember the
PS.
first Bluetooth as well. Good grief.
Yeah, don't even go there.
Indeed.
PS Rewind says, shout out to Whoops Nation and Mooch for a great show. Appreciate that PlayStation Rewind. Kratos99, by the way, I want to say shout out to Kratos99 and DC Gaming for the amazing amount of gifted subs. I believe Kratos with 10 from DC. Guys, thank you so much, guys. It means the world to me. Hey, you've made so many people in the chat happy. I appreciate that. Kratos99 says, PSVR 2 is worth it. I have no problem with it. But the most important thing about the products are the games and Lady D. So shout out real quick to Kratos making a good point right there. But I'll tell you, the one thing we didn't talk about that I want to get into in a second here, and I want the panel to think about this. We talked about what the contents of the technology is. We talked about the cost of it. But the one thing that will still drive people regardless, which is the reason we buy $500 consoles or even $1,500, $2,500, $3,500 PCs is because the games drive us there. The games drive us there. Shout out to Kratos99. He says, Crossfire, baby, welcome. Quizner FD, I apologize, I'm saying that wrong, but he has subscribed to the channel. I appreciate that. Damion, appreciate Damion. He says, shout out to the panel, Persona, what's up, family? And then Careful also subscribe to the channel. And we do have a new Mooch Maniac family member. If I scroll up real quick, I'm trying to do this as fast as is humanly possible. It's never going to work out, right? RP Gaming, I appreciate that, RP. Thank you so much. But real quick, let me go and start in reverse order then. For BRAP, are you getting PSVR 2?
Yeah, you know what? I'm probably gonna hold off, man, just because, like Slow-Mo, I got the Quest 2, and
Yeah.
I try. I like VR. I just don't have time to play it, and
I
I
understand.
think it's cool experiences. Although Ryan McCaffrey's preview of GT7 really got me.
Did that not almost? I'll tell you, for people,
Yeah,
a lot of people said they saw that,
pulled the trigger,
and they were almost sold right there.
Dude started crying.
But
Yeah,
he did.
I mean,
He
it was
started tearing up.
But I may get it at some point, Mooch. I mean, just probably not right now, just because I got a lot of other content I need to get through. So.
No, and I respect that fully. Now I'll start with Jay or Persona, whoever wants to chime in. Whoever's going to be grabbing one of these.
Plus, I'm tracking airplanes right now, so that takes up a lot of my time.
Well, I appreciate that because you don't want them slamming into each other. I really appreciate you doing that. Air traffic controller BRAP, everybody. But I got to say, Gran Turismo 7, Moss and Moss Book 2. Horizon Call of the Mountain, Star Wars Tales of the Galaxy's Edge, Resident Evil Village. They're saying, right? I mean, these are the games that are saying that everyone is basically a collaboration of saying top 5. J-Dub, what are the first few games you're going to be playing here? Because I think that's what the audience needs to hear is we've gotten past the tech talk. Now let's talk about what the hell we want to play on these things.
Listen, GT7 definitely. That'll probably be the. You know what? I'll probably say that for last because I know I'm going to put hundreds of hours still into that. But what I want to do, Mooch, I want to tell you my pre-order list that I have for VR.
Please.
I'm just going to give you the games. So I bought the Call of the Wild. The Call of the Mountain, the Horizon. I already got Resident Evil Village.
Yes.
It's VR
Same.
2. I got Star Wars pre-ordered. The Walking Dead Retribution. Firewall Ultra. I got that on my wish list or whatever. So as soon as that's available. By the way, the launch window for these games, what Sony is saying, the launch window is the first 3 months. So that's February, March, and April. So these 30 games that they have coming out are within the first 3 months, and they have hundreds and hundreds of them in development. I got Moss Book 2 already. Damion got that pre-order.
Yeah, that one looks interesting too.
Yeah,
Damion's actually pretty fun. I played that before. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, Cities VR, Zenith, the Light Brigade, Tentacular. That looks like it's going to be a great experience. For me and the kids and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Hello Neighbor. Kids are crazy about that, so I
they like that. Yeah.
Switchback. I mean, I think that's like if you get PSVR 2, you got to get that. From what
I agree.
I'm hearing and all that stuff, you got to get that. And I'm interested in CrossFire, so I got that on my wish list. CrossFire Sierra Squad. I'll be honest, between Ghostbusters, Townsman VR, and No Man's Sky, which is already VR enabled, dude, this is my whole year right here, just stacked up.
Yeah, that's the one thing when I'm seeing a lot of reviewers and BRAP, you can take the mic, but reviewers were saying, BRAP, that there's not, they said the games lineup is weak. And I mean, maybe they're talking about new IP only, but I mean, that lineup for many people jumping into VR, which Santi said first and foremost, more people getting involved in VR. VR right now, I think, is still an untapped market right now. There's quite a lineup of games available day one or within the first 3 months.
Yeah, I think sometimes the media kind of forgets that there's different addressable markets. and you're gonna have people like me that I have Quest 2, but I haven't played some of the games that that J-Dub mentioned, and there are going to be people that are coming into this who are probably like in my situation, and they're going to be people that are new to VR. They're going to have access to all this content, and I get it. I saw the criticism. Oh, it's stuff that you can find, on Quest 2. It's not new. Okay, fine, but the people that aren't going to where those titles aren't going to really resonate with them, probably aren't going to buy a PlayStation VR 2 because they've already played those titles, right? So I think it's one of those things, kind of a pet peeve of mine with gaming media, where they forget that, look, it's not absolutes. There's different addressable markets. You have different consumers who are going to be entering into PlayStation VR 2. Some of them the first time, some of them coming from PlayStation VR. They may have never played those games, but just in my opinion, just looking at the launch lineup and the games they have, a lot of stuff to pick from. I mean, and that's kind of like why I'd be outside of Ryan McCaffrey's preview of GT7 on PSVR 2. When I looked at some of the games, I'm like, like that. It is tempting. Like, it's tempting for me to pull the trigger and get this, launch day. But I'm gonna hold off. I'm gonna hold off because I don't want that backlog, man.
Yeah, no, so Persona, what's on your list here? Because I know that Persona, myself, and Jay are getting it. It sounds to me like Merc is in a hold and wait. Kayasanti might be in a hold and wait, and Slow-Mo is a no as of right now.
You know what, Mooch? After this conversation, I've decided I need to go a cheaper route. So
you're going cheaper.
I'm going out. Yeah,
get that laptop. You're going to Walmart. Get that laptop.
No, I'm going cheaper than that, J-Dub. I got an empty Honey Nut Cheerios box on the top of the fridge.
He's going Wii U.
I'm gonna tape a cell phone to the end of that and tape it around my face. And
the Switch VR. He's gonna do the Switch VR.
He's gonna go Switch. Yeah, I was just saying Wii U.
The cardboard VR.
This is obviously going to be a more comparable experience than the PSVR 2.
I'm sure you'll be capping for that tomorrow. Keep clowning. It's good. Go ahead.
No, but on a serious note, top 3 games that I'm going to be playing as soon as I get my PSVR is going to be number 1. You already know Horizon Call of the Mountain. I mean, come on, like that is one of my most anticipated this year. The next one is going to be Moss Book 1 and Book 2. I'm counting those two as one game just because those are what I'm excited for. GT7 number 3, Zenith is number 4. This is an RPG, MMORPG that you can play completely in VR. It looks incredible. And then Switchback VR. I actually seen one of the VR channels I was watching. I seen like a clip of him playing the game, and I was like, "Yo, this looks incredible."
It does look
"Yo, this looks dope. Like, I gotta get this." So that actually made me a believer, and so I actually just recently pre-ordered that. So those are like the games. Listen, it's a lot of games in February because I still got Destiny, Lightfall, and all this other stuff. So my hobby is bleeding me dry a little bit. So I was like, all right, we're gonna play these for now, and then we'll get to some of these other ones later. But those are like the top 3, the top 4 or 5 that I'm gonna.
This is a selfish thing to say because J-Dub said it best, but I gotta be honest with you. So Switchblade was one of the ones that I was actually looking forward to the most. And for you that in the audience that may be listening that doesn't know what that is, the Switchblade one is very similar to the I always call it Dust Till Dawn. It's not. Until Dawn's same makers. Was it not that made that one on rails for
Supermassive Games?
Supermassive Games, which made the PSVR 1 as well. This is also being made by them as well, right? Slow-Mo, correct me if I'm wrong.
It is, although I mean I don't know what's going on with Supermassive lately. They have, it seems like every release they release is now it just gets slightly worse than the one before. So I don't know about that one. If that one's
so you didn't like the Quarry.
Didn't Supermassive make that what was that scary game they just put out? Was that Superman? Oh, Quarry, right? They made that, right?
I said the Quarry.
Yo,
My God,
I thought that was all right. I thought that was all right.
It was okay, but it was just like,
I didn't love
the motion blur on that shit was. Yo, my God, it was crazy.
I could go by an hour complaining about the Quarry and how dumb those characters are and how stupid that story is.
Yeah, it looked good though. Right. It looked real good.
I mean, it looked good. That was about it.
I thought it looked good.
I mean, look, like, okay, so you just real quick, you have werewolves, right?
Yes.
And they're afraid of water, and you're on a lake, and you have boats. And when the one person finally goes, hey, why don't we just go on the lake? In the summer, some idiot goes, we would die from hypothermia. Why would you do that? You have boats, you idiots. Get away from the werewolves. Why? Okay, let me stop because I'm about to go in. Because literally
on stream, I thought I heard you clowning.
Yeah, no, he was.
It was the dumbest characters ever, and I was just like, "Yo, this can't be the same studio that did Until Dawn." I love Until Dawn. Like, I love that game. Is so good, and it's like they have yet to match that level of quality. And I think it's just real quick. They're going the Telltale route, where they're making too many games. They're doing these dark picture games. They drop one every year. You can't make a game and drop a game every year expected to be of high level of quality. Sorry, Madden and 2K. I mean, those people know those games ain't quality. They're stuck in that system. But it's just for something that's not a sports game. You're making one every year, and every single time you come out, you got one-dimensional characters. You got really poorly developed storylines, and it's just like it's not like for what that kind of game is. You really need those things to be top-notch, and they're not right now. And so I don't know what's going on with them. Like, I used to be hardcore Supermassive fan, and now I'm just like, I don't even know if I'm getting the next one.
Do you think it's that they're a victim of their own success because they did so well in that first one that they thought, oh well, we found the formula and now they're bleeding it dry?
Yeah, that's the Telltale problem. Telltale follows the same formula over and over and over again to the
best thing is
tired of it.
Best thing though is they're not a full price title, so I think because of that, I kind of give them some leeway on some stuff.
Who made
I done purchased pretty much all of the anthology.
Yeah, me too.
Well, I was just going to ask you that.
And I like there's like 2 or 3 of them that are really, really good. The rest of them are like, I just kind of beat them.
Who made the Man of Jay? Who made the Man of Medan? Who made the Man of Medan?
That was the first one of the anthology. That was the first one.
All right. Yeah, I thought for some reason the first one there that it
boat.
starred the guy on the boat there with but it was the guy from Quantum Break or not Quantum. Right.
No, it was the Quantum Break. The Quantum Break
actor. Sean Ashmore or something like that.
Sean Ashmore.
I thought now a lot of people liked it, and that's fine. If you guys, I'm not going to sit here and bash it. I have that when I got halfway through it, it put me into a coma. That's a me problem. I understand.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So
that's a problem, Mooch.
Oh, okay. Was it just me? Someone good.
Like they're really entertaining. The story is really good, and then the rest is like you fall asleep. It's like, man, they really dropped the ball with this shit.
Yeah, that one just didn't hit home at all for me.
When they did Until Dawn, it was their whole studio, and they spent years making it, and it shows.
But I will say this, though. Those games are kind of almost designed for you to play with people. You know what I'm saying? You got to play like with a group of friends or something like that. It'll help move it along, especially like the Quarry.
Yo, shout out to Richard Wood. He says, Mooch, listening live in Asia, still on my holidays. That's great, man. It's amazing how many people we reach. Shout out to Richard Wood. I appreciate that, man. Thank you. Shout out to Herpy Master. Great name.
Man.
Wow.
So
Great name. What?
Listen, man, I only read them. I don't make them up. Shout out to H Master, we'll call him. So this kind of moves us into the next. I want to kind of parlay this. We're going to get a little bit further into the VR stuff here. I'll go with Merc. Merc, I got to ask you real quick. Yeah. Shout out to Herpy Master. He says, at least Sony's trying, unlike Microsoft. So one of the things I want to bring up, and I don't want to talk about it for too long, but Xbox dropped the ball on virtual reality, some would say. The Xbox boss made a promise to bring VR, high-fidelity VR to Xbox. My question for you, Merc, is twofold, because we had the great Everborn on last week, and he made some really good points on this. He said, I don't want, I'm only paraphrasing, and shout out to Everborn, by the way, outstanding guest last week. I had a blast podcasting with him. He said, I don't really care that Microsoft's not doing VR because I want them to concentrate on just getting games out. And he made a hell of a point. But Merc,
he's not wrong.
No, he's not necessarily wrong. But Merc, coming from your world right now, just curious your take. Where are you on this? Do you think Xbox dropped the ball on VR?
They absolutely dropped the ball. From a couple different perspectives. So, number one, you have the head of Xbox came out and promised that with the Xbox One X, right?
Yep,
that's right.
That high fidelity VR was coming to the platform, and it never did, right? Yep. They're dropping the ball from another perspective because your main competitor, right, is providing that even for what is a niche market. They're in that space right now. Microsoft and the Xbox name is irrelevant in that space. They don't have anything to provide in that market. So in that niche market, they're irrelevant. So I'll give you this analogy, right? So Google has Google Maps, right? It's on everybody's phone. Everybody uses it.
That's right.
Yeah.
Apple Maps, I particularly like iPhone. I don't know if that's a good or bad thing, but right? Apple Maps has its competitive product, right? Apple Maps. Yeah. It's not as good as Google Maps, but they're in the space, right? They're competing.
Yes.
They're providing something. That's where I feel Xbox is dropping the ball. Even though it's a niche market, they're not there. And it takes away mind share from that brand. So regardless on whether you're not going to buy a VR headset or not, if you were ever interested in getting VR, well, I guess PlayStation's the one to grab, right?
Yep, that's a really good point. Not just that, but we just spent a long time talking about how it took PlayStation from going through the PSVR 1 to where the technology's right now. Yeah. So even if Microsoft wants to put their foot into the pool, it's going to take them a couple of iterations to get through the course.
Mooch,
can I tap into this? Go ahead. You go ahead.
Here's one thing, right? And I want to add to him. The bigger disappointment is Microsoft is the one that has the particular IPs that really could take advantage of VR. You got Halo, a first-person shooter.
Yeah.
Can you imagine playing Halo in VR with the heads-up display? That shit would be amazing.
And then people will re-download that game and play it again.
Absolutely. No. Check this out. Now let's keep going. Right? You got Sea of Thieves. Whether you like it or not, that in VR would turn that whole experience around. Right? That would turn that whole freaking experience around in VR on the boats with your friends. doing the boat, somebody's a pirate and stuff. That could really take advantage of VR.
Yeah.
And then you got your racer, right? The biggest one, their biggest, pretty much at this point, their biggest IP. You got your racers that could most definitely take advantage of VR. I mean, most of the Sony guys, that's going to be their first game that they boot up is GT7 in VR. So they have the IPs. Imagine the next Gears being in. Microsoft has the IPs that could really outshine Sony when it comes to VR, and they're not in the VR market.
So can I put my 2 cents in here real quick?
Yeah, go ahead. Good point though, Jay.
While I agree, I wholeheartedly agree with the panel that they have dropped the ball. I will approach it in a different way. They are more part of VR than most people know. They just happen to be like a long time ago. They decided to sit back and watch the VR market mature. So any VR headset on PC, they are instrumental in it. They provide drivers. They handle a lot of the back end stuff. They at some point, right? They could have and still can. You know how right now the Quest can connect to a PC and then you get a better experience?
Yeah.
They had every capability and ability to do that on Xbox.
Yep.
They still
Except
can.
But
they refuse to do that.
Except the USB-C port.
Can you go out and buy a VR right now for your Xbox? Yes or no?
You know you cannot. So
that's the problem that we're talking about right now. That was Merck's problem. That was Merck's point just now. That's what we're talking about.
I understand that, but what I'm telling you is, although they are able to be in the VR space currently through they're just basically watching the VR space, right? They don't have to R&D like others can because they have partners that can do that for them. My issue is, why did you not allow Facebook to actually integrate with the console that you could do?
Well,
they still can.
They tried to. Remember, they had the Oculus, the original Oculus before it was the Meta. They had that come with an Xbox controller.
Yeah. Exactly. Controllers, you can actually connect your console to the VR headset, and then you're like in a room and seeing the game on the screen. They went a tippy toe in and never went any further. So I completely agree. Now, others want them to have their own headset. To Everborn's point, I can take that or leave it. Get your games out first, then we'll talk about that. You could have easily allowed your partners to then tap into that, and it would have really, really made a difference. They haven't done that yet. I think that's really unfortunate.
What does that have to do with Merck's point, though? Like, all due respect, like, Merck with.
We're talking about Microsoft versus Xbox.
That has nothing to do with.
That's what I'm talking about.
Point. And Merck made a very direct point speaking to why Xbox should have their own VR.
Yeah.
And we're talking about
and what I'm trying to tell you is they don't need their own VR.
Why
they have
not?
Partners that could
their competition has
the thing is, okay, Kay, you make a point technology wise, but when it comes down to it, people want to see first party.
I'm just saying. I mean,
I think there is one thing what people want to see versus what will make them money. They feel they don't need to get in there to make that money.
Are you a gamer? Are you a gamer? Or are you on the board of Microsoft? What are we talking about?
People bought a console based on their promise.
Can I chime in real quick?
True, yeah. And for those who actually bought the console based on your promise, yeah, I agree with you. It is a drop of the ball. Like I said, like I agree with you that they should have gotten into the market in one way or another.
Let me ask you this question, Kay. As a gamer, would you want Xbox to have VR? Would as a gamer, wouldn't it be great to have VR on an Xbox?
I agree with Everborn. I want them to ship their games and be consistent first before they go anywhere else.
That's not the question. That's not the question I asked, sir.
There are $2 billion.
That's how I'm answering.
There are $2 trillion company. Why can't they do both? When the competition,
there are two.
When the competition has a fraction of their budget, and they're doing it.
And that there is a very, 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 very valid criticism. So until they figure that out, focus on your core competencies. And then
even Nintendo got VR.
So Asante, you telling me $1 trillion corporation can't multitask?
Clearly, with evidence of history, they cannot.
Let's move on. What's the other topics?
Let me try real quick.
Go ahead.
I would have personally liked to see them dip their toes in VR. I know Phil Spencer talked about it, but clearly they've changed their strategy. And corporations do that. They change their strategies all the time, and Microsoft's done that.
Yeah.
I kind of agree with what Everborn said last week. I want them to be able to fix their biggest problem, and that is the ability to kind of manage their production pipeline better than they have from a first party perspective. They need to nail that. And
but Brad, Enrique, they're finna take on a massive publisher with shitload of developers underneath them. They're gonna take on more. So what makes you think that if they can't handle what they have now, and they're gonna throw a shitload of other developers and I mean, do you think they'll be able to?
But that's kind of the argument that they shouldn't get into VR if they can't even manage this. Look, if somebody can't walk and chew gum at the same time, I'm not expecting them to do algebra or something. Like, I can't.
Yeah, but did they not understand that when they promised their customers that they would have it?
You know what? I want to speak on that, but I can't. I was told something. And I actually been sitting here waiting for confirmation to see if I can speak on it, but I can't. I ain't got confirmation yet. So all I'm gonna say is they should have addressed it publicly. That's almost linger. Yeah, that's true. Instead of letting it linger, and people like, yo, what happened to your VR promise? They should have addressed it publicly when things change. That's all I'm gonna say.
Absolutely. Yeah, but the fact that they didn't address it publicly.
That's an L on them.
It looks worse, but it's an L that's continuing to pile up because you haven't addressed it, and your competition is now on their second iteration, while you still have either addressed that you're not going to do it or put something out.
Look, next week, all on YouTube, all on Twitter, everybody will be talking about PlayStation and PlayStation VR2, right? Nobody is going to be talking about Xbox and Xbox VR. They're allowing the competition.
Any different from the week?
Well, yeah, I know.
I mean,
it's just Jesus, man. Like,
am I wrong? I mean, except for
you're not wrong, but like it's like dogpiling all of these fucking issues that are just really they're valid points, but that none of them are getting answered. We're sitting here saying, well, like Everborn said, he would rather them to focus on the games and stuff. We still have no release dates for Forza. We still have no release date for their biggest game ever, apparently, according to some people, Starfield. And here we are. Your competition is launching VR, and it's getting rave reviews and all this stuff. And you're not in that discussion. So it's dogpiling on there, man. And I don't understand. Yeah. I don't know when that's going to go away.
While your competition is thriving in a new market and trying to get a foothold, you're saying,
You know what the problem is?
It is what it is.
Yeah, you know what the problem is, that whether you're interested in VR or not, perception is reality. Yeah. So even if it's not, but perception is reality, right? Absolutely. And you got PlayStation that's, man, they're really kind of hitting, bro. They've been hitting on all cylinders really since like midway point of last gen to now. You know what I mean? And to your point, they're on the second iteration of VR. Xbox has yet to be consistent about producing quality games, and they still don't have a VR. I mean, the mountain's just getting, higher to climb. You know what I mean? And there was a time, especially previously when I just gamed on console, that I kind of favor Xbox. But man, over as the years has passed from last generation to now, last generation in 2015, I really became more of a PC gamer, but still gamed on console occasionally. Now I really don't boot up my PS5 unless it's an exclusive. I think the last time I played the PS5 was, for Ragnarok, right? But I mean, man, PlayStation's really stolen that mind share. And now, again, here comes another huge talking point. PlayStation VR2 now is dropping, and the mountain's getting taller, and Xbox is really falling behind, man. I mean, that's kind of hard to dismiss.
No, you're not wrong.
On all fronts.
If they ever want to get into the market that way, they're gonna have a really big hill to climb because their competitors are way ahead. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, listen, from the consoles to the games to the TV shows to the movies. It's
to the VR.
They're killing it.
To the console space,
they're killing it on all fronts.
Well, you're seeing it.
I don't think they listen. I don't care how much money they got.
You would think PlayStation was $1 trillion corporation.
That's what I'm saying. That's a huge hill to climb.
I keep telling people, J-Dub, that we have tangible evidence that Sony's just better at gaming's a form of entertainment. They're just better at that than
100%.
Well, we say it all the time. We say it all the time.
And that doesn't mean that you can't enjoy your Xbox.
No, not at all. That has nothing to do with that.
You can.
Even Nintendo got that little cardboard UPS box, and
well, that's what I'm saying.
Put out. You feel me? Crazy.
Well, I would say even Nintendo's better at the entertainment space than Microsoft is too. I mean, you look at what they're doing with the theme parks and the movies, and then the games. I mean, they're just those two companies, and again, we have tangible evidence that they just do a better job than Microsoft.
When it comes down to it, that's their bread and butter. If you stop and think about it, right? So Sony PlayStation is a big part of the Sony organization. Nintendo makes video games. That's what they do. I've always said that. If you go to a pizza place, they make the best pizza. You go to a place that makes pizza also, not so good. Not so good. It's just on the menu. We all thought that would change a little bit more once Xbox got its own division. It had their own CEO. It had their own seat at the table. But that happened a long time ago, and it still seems like it's the same kind of thing. Now you see more money go towards Xbox. A lot more money go towards Xbox. Tons, billions of dollars now.
I'm not so sure Xbox would be around if it wasn't backed by Microsoft.
Oh well, I mean
if you look at what they've done over the last 20
probably
years,
true, but that's I mean, it is Microsoft, so I mean, I kind of give them that benefit of the doubt.
It can be supported.
Yeah.
I mean, I agree with you guys. Like when it comes to developing, managing, and publishing games, they are, when it comes to compared to the other two companies in the console space, there is a large gap in terms of experience and success. They have not been able to cultivate and create new IP very well. And what they have really cultivated has mostly been stuff that was created by other developers, partners that they worked with, and that they eventually acquired it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I mean, like you can still be successful in a way by doing that.
Yes.
But compared to what your competition is doing, your competition is able to outperform you on quality without having to spend as much money to do so. And so overall, like I think a lot of us, what we would like to see is them to step up in that arena, provide content that doesn't need to be acquired, that doesn't need to have to be bought out in order for you to bring it exclusive to your platform. You would love to see like the 23, 20, whatever the hell, how many studios they got, actually drop some serious heat. And so far this year, Tango has stepped up. Hi-Fi Rush is good.
Yep.
You want to see more of that, but it's just, I think what is lacking right now with Xbox first party is consistency. So you get a Hi-Fi Rush.
You get no arguments there, brother.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The lack of consistency is what makes people still doubt. So it's like if you had nothing but high quality Hi-Fi Rush games all year long, nobody would have anything to say. But when you don't get that,
at that point,
and then there's these huge gaps in even dropping content, people are just like, but this is what we expect, and they haven't been able to override those expectations.
Exactly, right? You give me more of that. Everybody asks me, "Oh, what do you think Xbox should do?" I don't care about a show. I don't care about a game. I want consistency for a number of years to show me you can do that. At that point, then you come at me and say, "Why are they not in the VR game?" I'm like, "Yep, now they can do that because they've been able to figure this out. They haven't figured this one out yet." And it's unfortunate, but that is what it is, right? So
I am not sure if this leadership group can figure it out. Honestly,
who knows? We shall see. It'll be entertaining to watch.
I mean, I think Phil Spencer's got to go. I think I think his ability to manage production pipeline. I mean, it's clear. Like he just
him and Matt Booty, they both.
Yeah, I mean, something's.
I agree with
Matt, and I don't disagree that Phil's done some great things at Microsoft in terms of introducing Game Pass, things like that. But there's just something amiss there with Xbox. I mean, we've talked about
he overpromises and underdelivers.
Yeah, exactly. And we
constantly, and then when they fail, it's the same tweet year in and year out. We hear you.
Yeah,
we will do better. It's like, bro,
we'll do better.
Like, stop, bro.
Yeah, we got it.
I mean, where else would that happen where somebody wouldn't lose their job, right? You know what I mean? Like
if that was PlayStation, Jim Ryan would have been gone.
but even at our own jobs, what we do, like if somebody was doing that and was promising their boss, "Oh, we hear you, sorry, blah blah." At some point, be like, we need to have a conversation.
Yeah,
Mooch, I don't know if you remember this or not, but the very first time I was ever on CrossFire was back in like 2018. And we were talking about, this was like not too long after they acquired those first 5 studios.
Yep.
And there was all the talk about like people was like, oh, they're gonna micromanage them the way they micromanage all their other studios.
Right.
And it was the whole, creative freedom. We would let them do what they want. Ninja Theory was coming out here. Yeah. We make what we want.
Yeah.
All of them were saying the same thing.
Yep.
And I kept saying that's a double-edged sword.
Yep.
Because it isn't good management.
It's not.
Of a property isn't just, hey, it's okay. This Zen idea of you just do whatever and we'll just fund it. Yeah, you want them to have creative freedom to make what they want because then you're going to get something that's unique. But you do also need to be the parent in the room.
That's right. We've been saying,
and
that's
when you
exactly
don't have that,
It
like, I
still
remember
needs to be
people
good.
coming back at me like, "Hey, no, it's better than what they used to do." I'm like, "But is that good? Just being better than what you used to be doesn't mean that you're doing good." And so far, what have we seen? Mismanagement. Developers asking from Undead Labs and the initiative, we wait for Microsoft to come in and nip this in the bud.
Yeah.
But they never showed up. And it's just like, you cannot be the absentee parent.
The only way you can make the only argument, the only like narrative, the only thing you have to show is, look what happened to Halo, right? It's like the equivalent of Nintendo shelving Mario or PlayStation shelving like Kratos. I don't know.
Yeah.
Until that's resolved, come at me after that.
But you know,
we'll talk about what else they should do. That's all I care about.
It's not even just that, but I mean, look at what's happened to Gears. Gears has gone from, that was like my favorite. That's probably, I liked Gears way more than I liked Halo. They destroy
shelf Gears, Mooch.
I know Gears is completely like fallen off a cliff with the story and just the way the game feels old when you play it. The characters are lackluster. Nobody cares what's going on. No one's playing the multiplayer. Look at that game. They've completely let go of what made Xbox. And to credit what Slow-Mo's talking about is legitimately just have the games. When they used to micromanage, in air quotes, they used to have consistent games coming out. Back when I liked Xbox a lot. And that's the one thing. So here we are since 2016, they've had Sea of Thieves come out, the new IP, and then Hi-Fi Rush. You know, I mean, it's like, you need to have leadership. I've been saying, I don't usually use names. You guys know it. I always say Xbox needs new leadership. What that leadership is, that's not my pay grade. That's not what I'm doing here. I'm just saying that they need new leadership in place. And that's been apparent.
Slow-Mo backslap.
The Slow-Mo backslap wouldn't be that wouldn't be a bad first hire.
I will fire Matt Booty for him. I know they don't like firing people. I'll go in there and be like, "Hey Matt, what's up, bro? Yeah, get up out of here. It's my office now." I would sit in. We would get some games up out here. I'll be flying all over the world. They got studios all over the world.
Slow-Mo. Are you saying you're gonna let the booty go?
Oh, not the booty, but Mad Booty. Yeah, I don't let the booty go, but the Mad Booty gotta go.
The Mad Booty.
It's not. See, everybody wanna. Here's the thing: when it was Dunny D's fault, everybody blamed Dunny D.
Right.
And then they skipped. Everybody's skipping Phil Spencer and going, to somebody else. It used to be Bunny Ross, right? And then it used to be somebody else. Everybody is shielding Phil Spencer. The guy at the top is always the guy at fault.
It's always the captain of the
ship.
ship.
Fault. Yeah, it's always the captain, but everybody shield Phil Spencer and blames everybody else. It's Phil Spencer's fault.
I agree with that.
It is. And we need to acknowledge it and say all of his excuses that he come out, we hear you, we apologize, all of this different stuff. Eventually, something's going to have to give because look what position that they're in right now.
Yeah, you know what's wild.
Well, I'll take his job too.
Is what you're describing like what Persona said earlier too about we hear you, we're sorry, whatever the case is. Like, it's not even an exaggeration. That's the part that's wild. Like, you guys aren't even exaggerating. That's literally what happens like almost every year.
I think if the acquisition if that falls through, I think he's gone.
It could.
I think that's his last Hail Mary.
You know what, Persona? I don't disagree with you. He looks super stressed at the Game Awards.
Yeah, he's gone. If that doesn't fall through, it's gone. He's gone.
I think whether he fails or it goes, he's gone. He's at the end of it at this point.
Oh, you think so?
At the beginning of last,
if he's not, he's still gone.
If it goes through, I'm gonna be honest. If it goes through, I'll be honest. I think Bobby Kotick, whether you hate him or whatever, he's a better manager than Phil Spencer.
Oh my God!
Yeah, that would be crazy if they made him the leader.
He's able to manage that publisher over there with the biggest IPs that's out, right? Your Overwatches, your Call of Duties, your World of Warcrafts, on the Diablos, all.
You might be onto something, J-Dub. You might be onto something there.
If that deal goes through, I could
But
see,
you know,
I could
damn,
see a
you know
scenario
damn
where
well
they
there's
would
no
absolutely
way.
get rid
Jay,
of
no.
Phil.
There's no
take
way
Joe
that
Bobby
it
It's
is
not
coaching.
happening. Jay, no.
Let me ask you a
way,
question.
not in a
At the
million
beginning of
years.
last
Why
generation,
not?
Why not?
He's part of the
Because
reason
he's
why they had
poison.
to sell the company.
No,
Yes.
no. Listen. The reason why they
I
kept
would
him
argue he's the main
around,
reason.
the reason why the shareholders kept him around, right, and the board kept him around, is because he is successful at his job.
Mm.
Sure,
No,
he had a bunch of
Well, not only that,
fraternizing and a bunch
he
of
also
stuff
has
that's
a
going
large.
on.
He
to
also
get
has
rid
a
of him,
large.
too.
The reason
He
they
has a
didn't
large
let him
stake in the
go.
company as well, though.
Yeah, he does.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Didn't,
It was gonna cost
That's
too
the
much
main
to get rid
reason
of him.
why.
question: Didn't Phil have Matt Booty's job at the beginning of last generation?
Yes, he
Yes.
did.
He did, yeah.
Yes.
I mean, because at the beginning of last generation, Xbox One, they had a ton of games at the beginning of the
Absolutely. They had
generation.
exclusives.
That's right.
Yeah.
That was
So-
that was
and
that was
that was
the
a
actually-
lot of that. A lot of that stuff was set up by Donnie. By
That was Donnie D.
Donnie D, baby.
Yeah, a lot of that was Matrick.
They need to go get Matrick back then, bro.
Because after
I've been
right,
saying-
right
I
at
said
the
that a
end
long
of right
time
at
ago.
the cusp of
People thought it was
right at
crazy.
the end of 2016. That's when once they got into that 2017 range, shit fell off, man.
It was a
Fell off
wrap.
the cliff.
It was a wrap.
It was done.
Because remember, it was the weaker console, it was $100 overpriced.
That's where they-
Nobody was complaining about the games.
That's what everybody was complaining about. The
Exactly.
always online, the DRM, the weaker
yeah,
console.
the
But when
DRM,
you-
the weaker
but
console,
when you look
the bad
at the
price
games-
point. You know what I mean?
But when you look at the
That's
games were
also all
there.
Donnie D too. We can't have revisionist history and
No,
forget
that's
that this
absolutely
man
slip up.
released
Listen,
a
but
more
let's face it,
expensive. No. He
Donnie
released
D,
a more
the only thing that people remember, no, true,
less
but the only
powerful
thing that remember,
console.
the only thing that people remember of Donnie D is the fact that he told people, if you don't like this, we
No,
have a console
That's
for you.
not what I'm
360.
talking
That's
about.
Right.
what people
What
remember.
I am talking about, because what I remember is him releasing a more expensive console for $100 more that was also less powerful, and then took Rare and told Rare, go make Kinect games, and then said, okay, we're going to force everyone to get a stupid Kinect that nobody wants.
Yeah, he wasn't
People
perfect.
forget this
He
stuff
wasn't
about
perfect,
Donnie
slow
D.
mo. He wasn't perfect, slow mo.
wasn't
That's for
perfect
sure.
because he did oversee the R&D and all that stuff.
Okay, so it was
Okay,
Bring
yes,
it
it
back.
wasn't perfect.
Bring
It
Peter Moore
was
back.
kind of
Harrison?
slightly idiotic, though.
Okay,
We can admit that.
tell me this then. What is Phil Spencer's resume?
Hey,
Donnie D-
I'm not
Donnie D-
comparing them. I'm saying he ain't the answer either. Like,
No,
I'm saying
sorry,
don't
but I would argue that I would argue that
goes from getting beat from one boyfriend to her ex-boyfriend.
but see the thing. I think the reason why it looks worse on Phil Spencer is because Don Matrick handed Phil Spencer a successful generation with the 360.
That's true.
He did.
So
Listen,
I
Don
would
Matrick-
defer
Them a
to
successful
Matrick-
Gen
Don
360.
Matrick
and
left
Don
they were
Matrick-
from the
Don
last
Matrick-
good generation. The last good generation
from
from
off the break.
yeah, but
Don
the
Matrick
last good
left
generation
4
from
months.
Microsoft was almost 10 years ago with the 360. Xbox One generation was a train wreck, and so far coming out the gate with this generation was it's even worse because the console launched with no games. Game Pass is cannibalizing sales.
Pass cannibalizes
It's
sales.
all this craziness that's just
Yo, that
Don
sound
Matrix
effect
left.
was great.
He
it's
left.
absolutely crazy. Like what's going on right now?
Don Matrix left 4 months after the Xbox One generation, back in 2014.
Okay,
4
so he
months. They let him go. And Phil Spencer been after Phil Spencer was after him ever since. Phil Spencer has been leading it for a decade now, and we're still trying to do whatever we can to
Yeah, he
not
gotta go. He
blame
gotta
someone.
go.
Him, get his ass up out of
Yeah,
there.
he gotta go, bro. He
So,
gotta go.
I would defer to the great people in your chat. I think it was Ryan Landis who says it best. Yeah, bring Peter Moore back.
Peter Moore should
yeah,
come back.
yes,
Everybody be
yes,
loving
yes,
Peter
yes,
Moore.
Yes.
Yes.
Bring back Peter Moore. Don't bring
Yes.
back Donnie Dummy.
Peter was great.
Hey,
Bring
Peter
back.
Moore will
There
take
you
a
go.
dump in your cornflakes, boy. He's ready.
That's the guy. That's the guy they need. Peter
ready to
Moore.
scrap. Let's go.
Donnie D.
Bring Peter Moore back.
Well, you know what? Let me welcome Worry. Great timing, buddy, on your part to get here. Worry, you've done some great videos on your channel as well about how excited you are for PSVR. We kind of already talked about that, but to let you catch up, just real quick, you are excited about your PSVR. I saw you. I think you posted a picture that yours is shipped. Mine is not yet. Yours is on the way. And then we were just talking about basically what you walked into was where Xbox may or may not have dropped the ball on VR. That's kind of just catch you up in the about 20 seconds.
That's the only topic you're talking about as far as Xbox dropping the ball. PSVR.
Well, we were trying to just stay on topic of VR this week.
Oh, all right. Yeah, I'm super excited for VR, especially the VR2. I love PlayStation VR1. I loved 2 games in particular: The Impatient and there was something called Robinson the Journey. I don't know if anybody played that.
I didn't play that.
Yes, I was. It was with the. It was a futuristic, like with the little dinosaur eyeball and stuff. Yeah, that was.
Yeah. So stuff like that. I mean, I can't wait to just that kayak game that I saw. I know it sounds ridiculous.
It sounds crazy, but it looks
amazing.
Good.
Absolutely.
It does.
And
look really
Horizon Call the Mountain. So I'm just all over PlayStation right now. I wish Xbox would do something to bring me back to the way it used to be. You know what I mean, Mooch? We were talking about this a while ago.
Yeah.
We're the old school. We're like really the old school. I mean, old. We're fucking ancient.
Yeah, we're almost dead.
It's just, I don't know, man. It just feels like everything hinges on, like, there's nothing creative happening. It's all about acquisitions. Everything's on hold until they buy this or they buy that. They should at least be, creating some things, at least by now, with all the studios that they purchased before.
Yeah.
So
they have teams, they have talent. Make games.
Right now, they have more studios than the competition, and yet they went all 2022 with no first-party game.
Yeah,
it doesn't make any sense. If it wasn't for social media, they wouldn't be getting the support that they have. If social media didn't exist, people would be looking at this through a much clearer lens than they are right now.
Yeah,
the plane watchers.
The plane watchers. That's BRAP. 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 How are the?
Boy, that shit crazy.
BRAP. How are the?
Yo, I had to call J-Dub. I saw that article. I had to call J-Dub. Like, J-Dub, are they really tracking flights?
Wait, what are you talking about?
Oh, you don't know? You don't know?
Oh my god!
Fill them in, BRAP.
The Sony executives' private plane to see where they're going to Redmond, Washington, to deal with the. To talk with Microsoft on acquisition,
No,
I mean, they do know that Bungie also like is in Redmond, right? So why would they be tracking
sucker punch?
Exactly, but I mean,
like what's going on?
Narrative, man.
That's ridiculous.
I'm looking to try and send it to Air.
I tell you, this ABK deal. If this ABK deal does not go through, I mean,
a lot of people gonna need therapy after
yes,
that.
really. I mean, Persona, you're not even, that's not even, you're not even like joking. Like that's actually going to be like happen. You're going to see people go off the deep end.
This deal has exposed truly how invested a lot of people are in like console war, like things like this, where it's like every day they're giving like daily reports on. Yeah, so on today's episode of the acquisition talks. It's like, it's just like, it's crazy. Yeah, it's crazy, man. I'm just like, like,
but
you shouldn't be this invested.
What else they got? What else they got though? I mean,
but Persona's right. You shouldn't be like this emotionally invested. Like I see people like now, you have people coming out and like, oh, Lena Khan, she's a socialist from India. I'm like, oh, so
they were harassing her, bro. Yeah. I'm like, her, Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders. I'm like, y'all are.
I told you, it's
y'all are harassing
Bernie.
Government officials. Like,
well, the problem, the problem is you have Xbox influencers that are pushing out these narrative. That's why I call them the QAnon. That's why I compare it to QAnon conspiracy theorists, and people get mad at me. But I'm like, no, the behavior is very much the same. Like they're out there putting out misinformation, disinformation, and it just spreads like wildfire. They're attacking Lena Khan, the FTC. And like people are calling to question her ethnicity now. It's like it's crazy.
Yeah, I'm worried. I sent you the link for the story so you can catch up on it in the Twitter DM.
I'm afraid to even read it.
Yeah, you might not want to read that at all. So I just kind of switching slightly off subject here. I wanted to get into this. It was in the news, so I'm bringing it up. People always write me later on after the show, Mooch, don't talk about the ABK deal. Don't talk about this. I go, it's in the news. Why can every other show talk about it? Remember when we were doing BRAP? You remember? Like, Mooch, you cannot bring up Game Pass. Do not bring
up that. Yeah.
Like, why can every damn show talk about Game Pass, but I can't?
Yeah.
I can't talk about the ABK deal. I can't talk about Game Pass. Games Pass. But I do want to talk about. So, Slow-Mo, I'll start with Slow-Mo. Slow-Mo, you are always opinionated on this. I love putting Slow-Mo on the hot seat.
Go ahead.
No,
go ahead.
it's not Game Pass and it's not ABK.
Slow-Mo's not a fan of this topic.
It's not ABK and it's not Game Pass. I was bringing that up.
All right, I'm all in.
You're all in for this one. Basically, it was a lot to go with the whole well, I guess it does have something to do with Game Pass. I take it back. Slow-Mo. I tricked you. I apologize. Well, people were saying that Game Pass does hurt sales. Now, of course, the Microsoft the rhetoric that came out. People kind of took that and ran with it. We're going to try to speak as true to it as possible. They were saying after 12 months in the service, yes, games showed a slowdown in sales. A lot of people took to YouTube after that slow-mo, and they said basically, well, of course, after it's been out for 12 months, sales would slow down. Yeah. But I do want to say
that's not quite. I mean, after 90 days, games, even traditional games that never been any subscription service,
correct,
never recover the same like percentage of sales, whatever. Go ahead.
So what do you? But let's try to speak a little bit differently on it. I mean, just as a matter of fact, I mean, you see even the breakdown of the UK physical sales, right? And then it does change once digital are involved, but not by that much. It was like 82% for Hogwarts Legacy on PlayStation 5 to like, whatever it was, 18%, whatever. I don't. The percentages were out of whack. Now, of course, that will narrow down when we get digital involved, slow-mo. So I'm trying to be realistic here. But nonetheless, my point being is whether you're talking about a third-party game that's not in Game Pass or a game that does go in Game Pass, I mean, sales are definitely slower, and it makes sense, right? So Wolong, for example, will go day and date third party into Game Pass. That'll also be for sale on PS5. It will probably, even though it's in Game Pass, it'll sell better on PS5. I'm speaking hypothetically.
Cannibalizes sales.
So, I mean, what do you think when you hear that? Persona, great sound effect. But Slow-Mo, what do you think when you see what's been shown to the CMA and what's going on here and just... we've been told also by Xbox brass that games sell better after they're in Game Pass. But
right.
We've said that's on smaller niche, maybe smaller indie titles only, not maybe large third-party titles. But go ahead, Slim.
Yeah, I would say that there was some skepticism then when they said that, and I think there's some skepticism now with what the information that we're getting. Because, like, I remember seeing the document or the part of the document from the CMA that said, like, it's the percentage of of the sales being decreased was not there. It was like, redacted or whatever. So, like, I don't know if it's like 1% or if it's like 300%. Like, I think like that number is relevant to, at least to me, because if it's just 1%, then it's so freaking what. But if it's like 300%, that's like, don't ever put your game in Game Pass if that's how it's going to turn out a year from now. But I'll go back to what this really lack of information, like what I said before about like just traditionally games 90 days after launch don't recover sales unless you're like a Cyberpunk that has the Edge Runners come out on Netflix, or the Witcher TV series, or like The Last of Us has a awesome TV show, and then that increases the sales of the game 300%. Usually after 90 days, it's a wrap. You're not getting higher sales anyway. So what does that mean? Phil was lying? I don't know. I mean, Phil said that back in like 2018
it's
or
4
years
like
from
that,
now.
2019. Yeah.
So like if it was doing it when Game Pass was at 10 million subscribers, but like stuff changed 15 million subscribers later, I'm sure Phil ain't going the same way Phil ain't said nothing about VR. Phil ain't gonna tell you, we ain't no longer it's no longer doing what it used to do with sales. So it's just like I think in the long term it doesn't really mean anything unless we get some more information. But I mean, it is what it is. You put your game in there, you're going to expect to get that bag up front. That bag up front is really what you're looking for. The sales, especially at least on that platform 12 months later, you get what you got.
Yeah, no, I like what you're saying there. Asante, what do you think about that?
No, I mean, to me, like Slow-Mo put it expertly, absolutely, and the pieces of the puzzle that are always left out of those as well. It's very weirdly written, and they took some things out. To your point, after 12-month sale, and also first party, right? They were using their own metrics to give the CMA or the authority, the regulatory bodies, an estimate of how Call of Duty would play in Game Pass. And they said that based on their metrics, after 12 months of their games being Game Pass, you then see the sales decline, right? Which everyone can chalk that up to duh. Like, when did you buy a movie or a TV show you could see on Netflix? Like, you don't do that. You just watch it on Netflix, right? But what that doesn't mean is third parties go through the same thing. Because yes, third parties will expect that they're going to lose money because I'm giving you something you can play with your subscription rather than having you buy it. So that means the bag that you expect from Microsoft should offset that. So this whole conversation, they kind of lump third party and first party together. First party, obviously you're losing sales because there's nobody handing Microsoft the bag. They're hoping that your Game Pass sub will account for that and make it whole, right?
Right.
But third party, they're handing you a bag to make you feel good about the fact that you might lose X amount of sales, and how much you think it's worth. That's the negotiation, right? So exactly to Slow-Mo's point, it's a duh kind of conversation. It's just, yeah, he said he said this at some time, and now we're finding out other information, and we got him, that kind of thing. You know, it's a non-story unless we have that information of how much drop off are we talking about, right? And again, it is first party, so obviously when you spend, let's take Starfield as an example. We don't know how much money that was spent. I'm sure more information will come out once the game is released, but I am sure it'll take a long time for them to recoup the cost of how much it costs to make Starfield, compared to subscribers and all that. We don't know. Maybe that opens the floodgates and a bunch of more people come in. Hey, hopefully that's the case. If not, they're going to take a loss for a while, right?
Yeah.
And they got nobody handing them a bag to offset that.
I'll say this real quick before anyone else goes. If I'm a third party developer and Microsoft is courting me of putting my AAA game into Game Pass, I really want to know what that redacted number is. I think that's going to be really, really important to my decision.
That's a good point, Slow-Mo.
Yep.
I also kind of want to know, is that number based upon what it was expected to sell 12 months later versus what it actually sold? Because that then brings it into even further perspective, because if I'm expecting it to be, I know I'm going to get some drop off. It's a year-old game, but if I'm expecting it to get
real quick,
go ahead.
Mike Rose. I don't know if you heard of Mike Rose. Dude is the publisher, indie publisher.
Yeah.
They get those numbers. He won't tell you the numbers, but he said point blank that to them it works out. Of course, their numbers are different because he's an indie publisher.
Yeah, he's an indie, so like he's the guy with the
point I'm making is
Defenders
he gets,
game, right?
Defenders,
No,
those numbers.
Yeah, no disrespect.
That's why I said AAA developer, because like Mike Rose's game doesn't cost anywhere near as much as what people can fly in Square Enix pay for Outriders.
That's not my
right?
point. Yeah.
So that's why I specifically was like a AAA developer. Like if I'm making that kind of game and I'm putting that kind of money in the budget, and I'm getting a bag. You're offering me a bag up front. We've negotiated a price to put the game in Game Pass. I want to know what those numbers are 12 months later.
My point.
That's going to determine whether I want more of a bag up front or whether I'm just going to say, forget that. We're not doing it. Yeah.
My point is that he has said that they are privy to those numbers, but God forbid if you ever speak on those numbers, you going to get them lawyers after you. So they're not going to say it, but when they make those decisions, they are privy to all those numbers.
Like
we don't.
It's probably a bad number then.
That's
because if it was a good number, right?
Absolutely. I was just going to say that.
They would be like, hey,
look
12 months after launch, look what's happening.
That's right.
But it's not. So it's like,
but to your point, 90 days after launch, it starts slowing down. So imagine 12 months after launch. You know what I mean?
Right. True. It's still going to be slower regardless. Like any game does that. Red Dead 2 does that. Hogwarts Legacy out here is selling the grandmas. And that game 12 months from now, I love that game. But that game 12 months from now isn't going to be selling the way it is right now. But so it happens to every game. It's just,
not Elden Ring.
It happened to Elden Ring.
But
Elden Ring ain't selling like it did when it first came out.
It's slower now, BRAP. But it's slower. It's slowing down by a good substantial mark now.
It's still selling.
Oh, it's still selling.
Hogwarts is crushing it.
I just think for you to put your game in Game Pass, it's got to meet a certain framework. Either it's an older game, or you think the game is not gonna sell that well, and you need the bag up front. It's gonna be something to that effect.
Well, so hold on a second. I see the yawns in the chat. Persona, you did a whole show on this. What's your thoughts, Persona?
They're an anomaly.
I told you so.
Game Pass cannibalizes sales. Listen, man.
Definitely does.
Listen, man. I was laughing the whole fucking
Persona,
time.
come on.
Listen, man. Let's cut the bullshit. You feel me? Like, let's cut the bullshit.
I love what he does.
Because the very same thing that people are saying is inaccurate when it comes to this, they can't provide you with actual facts, data, and statistics to prove their argument. But when we look at actual facts, data, and statistics, NPDs, UK sales charts, Japanese sales charts, and so on and so forth, there is data there that backs up the claim that games do not sell on the Xbox platform, albeit exclusives or third party. And then when we look at the number of games, like Japanese games that are still skipping the Xbox platform, and a number of other titles that release, even bigger titles that release and still sell at a lower percentage on Xbox platforms, that speaks volumes when it comes to the amount of people that are actually buying games. When we look at the actual sales figures of excuse me, not sales figures, sorry. When we look at something like Game Pass, and I said this on my show the other day, I don't think Game Pass is a terrible service. I don't think that it's bad. I think it's a great secondary, but I do not think that Game Pass should be something that should be used as a main way of playing games, right? And when it comes to Game Pass, the mindset that people begin to have is what's detrimental and cannibalizing and hurting the sales, because you get a lot of people who now think, okay, well, because Microsoft is an anomaly in an economy like gaming, where they are really and truly, they've got the pocketbook, they've got the money, they can sustain that. So because they are an anomaly in this space that can keep something like this going for however long they choose to, it creates this artificial want of, oh, well, if Microsoft can do it, then everyone can do it.
Everyone
or
should
if
do
Microsoft
it.
if Microsoft can do this, then that means that everything should just go into the service and they should foot majority of the bill while I reap the benefits, which is not the case, because the gaming economy cannot be sustained on a model like that. Multiple people have come out and said this, and this is why you see, if this was such a great thing, everyone would be doing it. If financial people, everyone is saying that this does not work.
Well, Sean Layton said it on your show. Credit Sean Layton.
Absolutely. Yes, he did.
And your
show. So when it comes to this whole thing of day and date, I know a lot of people aren't going to like this. I said this yesterday on my show as well. I think that Microsoft needs to renege on that whole mantra of day and date.
Yeah.
It's at least when it comes to the big AAA titles, because even when we look at the consistency from Microsoft, and obviously that there's a lot of variables with that, obviously bad leadership, bad management, pandemic, whatever you want to use as your argument. Part of that argument, I would also argue that part of the reason why Microsoft is also not putting things out consistently is because it costs more money than they're actually getting in when it comes to this service.
Yeah.
Right. And so when you're looking at something like AAA market, I think that Microsoft should renege, and it's going to suck. It's going to suck publicly. It's going to suck bad. But I think that it would be better for the industry and for everything when it comes to the sustainability of sales. And also, you're still reaping the benefits of that money, because you're not getting rid of Game Pass. You're just keeping certain things out of it day one. It can reach it eventually, just like how PlayStation's doing it and how movies do it with the movie method. I have never heard anyone go watch a Netflix show and they say, oh, hey, dear, I'm going to go to Best Buy and buy that. Like, no one is doing that shit. And the same thing with Game Pass. So the fact that Phil Spencer even fixed his lips, regardless of how long ago it was, he is the head of this company. Words have meaning, especially his. So it doesn't matter when he said it. The point is he did say it, and it's not true. So it makes him and the company and the service look bad, because this is something that they believed in, and it is not coming true, because the facts, data, and statistics prove that.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
I want to just piggyback off what kind of
well said, Persona
the economies, the economy of gaming. It doesn't work for like Nintendo and Sony, but it does for Microsoft, because they're a $1 trillion company and they can absorb that loss leader strategy. And that goes to some of the concerns and I don't want to get into, because Slomo's going to get upset, but that goes to some of the concerns that the regulatory bodies have about Microsoft being able to position itself in a loss leader strategy and how that impacts competition in the future moving forward, especially if they're able to shift the market to a subscription model where they're the only ones that could absorb loss leader, or that the cost of AAA expenditures, and not rely on those retail sales. They could just bite the bullet, take losses, in the hopes of getting people to subscribe into a subscription service. That is part of the concern, and I just wanted to point that out, because I think that's something that a lot of people miss.
Yeah.
when they're reading some of the concerns by the regulatory agencies.
I always put it in layman's terms just for everyone to kind of understand. And shout out to a few people in the chat that have been here with me for a long time. I said, Mooch, you've been saying this for years, double dip, double dip. That's what I'm saying. Sony knows that. When you have the IP that somebody wants, let's use Xboxes, for example. Everyone's very excited for Starfield, right? So if Starfield was to come out, and I can guarantee you people at Redmond wish they never did the day and date. I said this years ago. They probably wish they did a 6 month. After 6 months, it'll go in Game Pass if they wanted to be aggressive. They should have done 1 year. But if they wanted to be aggressive, they could have done 6 months. If you really want to play Starfield, and you see all the people on Twitter, I can't wait. There's some people who just tweet out, Starfield, can't wait, Starfield. Those people are not going to wait the 6 months. They would have bought the game day one for $70 and played. So you would have got that hardcore money right there. Then for the others that said, no, I belong to Game Pass, I'll wait the 6 months. Fine, wait. We live in a world of FOMO, right? Everybody has fear of missing out on a game. Everyone must be playing the it game right now. That's just the way it is. You've got the gaming media sites. You've got your favorite YouTubers. You yourself are streaming games yourself. You want to be in the it right now, the time. And that's right now. And they should never have done the day and date thing. I said that, well, Sony's going to do it. Sony's going to do it. No, they aren't. They have their own.
That's the.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
No,
sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. Sorry.
No, I'll say one more point and I'll give you the microphone back, Persona. I've said this all the time. Again, usually it's because I do CrossFire when I'm starving to death. But the point of the matter is, I have my favorite place I'm going to eat. I'm going there tomorrow night. The dish that they make, no one else makes it. So I have two choices. Go there and pay the price, right? And have to make the reservation weeks ahead of time to get in there, or don't go. That's my choices. And guess what? I choose to pay the price and call weeks ago to get the reservation. Sony knows they have that with their IP. Their IP is their recipe, and nobody can manipulate it or duplicate it. So they say, we're going to put our game out on PlayStation 5, period. And then in a year at least, maybe more for some titles, or at least 12 months, then we'll put it in PS Plus Extra Premium. Okay? This works. They double dip. And now, if you don't believe me, and we've got PC guys on the panel right now, what are people playing on PC right now? Returnal. So they literally
they play Hogwarts Legacy.
Well, yes, the Hogwarts. Okay, so slow. I'm sorry. But my point being is,
I understand what you're saying.
Slow-mo, they squeezed everything out of that IP, and now it goes onto the PC, and they double dip. Go ahead.
Mooch, this is where I differ a little bit. Ain't nobody buying them games.
See, but that now, let me attack that. I agree with you, Slow-mo. But see,
they weren't buying the games before Game Pass.
But this is why it's a double-edged. It's a double-edged sword here, right? Because on one side of it, if you're saying, okay, AAA games are not going to be going into the service day and date, it'll come much later. Fine. But then on the gamer side, the question or the expectation now is to be, okay, you're reneging on this. I don't agree, because I've already been conditioned to do X, Y, Z. Okay, if these games are going to be releasing for $70, they better damn well be of that caliber and warranting the price. And the thing is, that's with any game. On Nintendo's platform, on PlayStation's platform, or third party, the gamer has to be the one to look at something and say, okay, is it worth the asking price or not? If not, then I'll wait for a sale. That's something that's been happening in gaming since its inception. So that's not, I think looking at it from that perspective is fair and valid, and it should be looked at from that perspective, and that should be the expectation. So if Microsoft is going to do that, they do need to understand that the games that they're putting out for $70 need to be able to stand the test of time, or stand up with or against the likes of PlayStation and Nintendo. So that's where you do you look inward and you say, okay, where are we going wrong? And that goes back to the conversation we had earlier when it goes to leadership and all of that.
I was just about to say that, because we literally just had a conversation about how their games aren't of the same quality. And if you think about that, and look, they know what their games look like. They know what those games look like better than we do, because they actually can see them in development and see them before they get put out on the front stage. They know that they're not of the same quality. We even saw their internal review of The Last of Us Part 2, and they even admitted they are doing something that no one else in the industry is doing, and we currently are not matching. They know what the level of quality is and where they don't measure up. They aren't. I think they know for a fact if they reneged on the day and date. Hold on. If they reneged on the day and date, they're not going to get they weren't getting sales off their personal games, like their personal games, first party games before Game Pass. You renege on this, I don't think it's going to work out for them. Like, I understand your point and your logic with it, Persona. What I'm saying is that I think that backfire is more than what they would expect.
But that's where the quality comes into play, though. But that's where the quality comes into play, because if you're releasing something, this is why are people going out and buying Zelda for $70 on an old ancient piece of hardware? Why is God of War breaking records? Why is Hogwarts Legacy breaking records? It's because these are games that people want to play. What Microsoft has to do is put out games that people want to play. They can look at that and say, damn, I have to have that. And they will go out and buy it. Right now, they're not putting out games of that caliber. That's what needs to be fixed 100%. But if we're going to keep going down that road, more and more sales are going to be cannibalized, and it's going to hurt the industry more, because it's going to warp the mindset of more and more gamers thinking that the expectation across the board needs to be what Microsoft is doing, although Microsoft is the only one in the industry that could sustain such a model for a long period of time. That's the problem here. It's a snowball effect.
But that's not what
I don't disagree, right? But let me throw one thing. Just a hypothesis into the mix. I don't disagree with anybody's points right now, but just like they lived in the world where, hey, everybody can charge $70 for games, but we won't, and now all of a sudden they're charging $70 for games. Mm-hmm. What is the thought that they are not at the level where they think they can do that? And when they finally do get to the level where they go, okay, our games can compete now, they will then renege, because at that point you'll pay.
Or because the games would be at that quality. That's my point. That's the thing. We don't know though. But see, that's the thing. We don't know, because they still need to put it out there and test the market.
True.
Because the market can sway. The market can sway anyway, very rigorously. And the gaming community and the gaming industry is very unforgiving. So if you're going to put something out that you think is of the quality of a Zelda, of a Spider-Man, God of War, whatever, you're going to have to test that market and say, you know what? For this game, we're not going to put this out on Game Pass day and date. We're going to put it out to be sold.
Nintendo just did it, and they did it on their Abacus, and still people went, okay, I'm still doing it.
There you go.
I'm just saying,
that was the
let's
test,
wait and see. I'm suspecting that we might see, like, to your point, we might see Microsoft do that eventually when they hit a bar, when they go, okay, we can do that now, right? They've recently hit a bar where they went, screw it, $70, and people just went, really, and then moved on. So there is a point to be made that yes, the sales are cannibalizing, and it relates to the quality and all of that. No argument for me there. But just thinking about what they recently did, which was renege on one of their promises, what's to say a year from now when they finally do what I've been saying, which is give me consistency, they then start saying, well, by the way, the games are now 6 months, not day and date. Who knows?
Well, listen, I thoroughly believe they're going to do that. Just like I believe that they were going to jack the prices up when eventually they got money. Game Pass is going to go up when eventually they have the content to be able to sustain it, and every one game is working. That's just literally what it is. That's why they gave you Game Pass for 3 years for like $1 to do that upgrade, right? They knew they didn't have the games, and they waited till they got games to be able to remove all of that stuff that they gave you. I think
they're trying to walk before they run. Is what.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing. They have yet to prove, for one, that they can create the quality that would demand the $70 or even the full price title. And for two, they already changed the mindset of their fan base to where buying games is a negative thing. They've already changed the mindset. So when you look at it, it's like, hey, this game costs this much. Oh, I'm gonna just wait for it to come to Game Pass. How many times we seen that on social media, in YouTube, even in the sales, even in MPD? They'll just sit around and say, oh, I'll just wait for it to come to Game Pass. That's their motto. Microsoft did that. Microsoft did that.
Yeah.
I mean, but to Slow-Mo's point, those people who are doing that weren't buying those games before Game Pass anyway. Right? So
listen,
that just gets them in the game.
I agree with you.
They weren't buying the $70 games in the first place.
You have to admit, we've been saying this for years. Game Pass only exists because the fan base didn't buy the games.
Exactly.
The reason, but also, I'm not going to blame the fan base for that, because it's like, if you give the fan base games that's of quality and that they want, they will buy it.
They'll buy it.
Also, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So
That's exactly the point.
That's the point that I made. That's what I was
exactly.
saying.
It goes. Look, I don't think we're disagreeing with each other. I think
We're in rigorous agreement here.
Yeah, no, we
we
agree.
are saying they need quality games to justify even reneging on the day and date, which they don't have. So they're not going to renege on day and date, definitely.
Yeah, the renege and the quality both go hand in hand. Absolutely. You can't say, oh yeah, I'm going to renege and not have nothing to show for it. No, they both go hand in hand. This is why I said it's a double-edged sword.
Thing, you know?
But this is why I said it was a double-edged sword, because the gamers need to look at them and expect, okay, you're reneging. What are you going to provide me that is of value that you're that's of value of that $70 price tag?
I think my only wrench
needs to come out and it needs to be fire. Avowed needs to come out. It needs to be fire. Fable needs to come out. It needs to be Hellblade. Then Hellblade 2 comes out, and then you go, hey, no more day and date. And people will be like, man, what the fuck?
And that is established
and then you just go buy Hellblade 2. So it's like at that point, but you have to have that consistency, which they like we said before, they don't have that consistency. There's like one first party game really hits, and then like there's a bunch of disappointments, a bunch of Halo Infinite,
the only wrench,
nonsense going on.
The only wrench I'll throw in slow-mo that I'll say that I'll and I think you guys will agree with me here. I don't think they'll back. I know where you guys are coming from. I don't think they'll ever backstep and go back to the buying the games and taking the day in and day it out. I think when they finally get to the point where they are confident in their games, right? I'm going to speak the same language we were all saying. When they are confident at that point, that's when I think, now that we're in this predicament, that's when you're going to see Game Pass skyrocket in price. When they know they've got you,
a scenario where
that's what's going to happen.
If there's a new CEO who doesn't have a mandate for the company that subscription services is what we need to do, because that's how I get my bonuses out here. If they get a new CEO in there and Phil Spencer not there no more, I can see a new head of Xbox taking over and saying, hey, yo, that was last regime's idea. We don't do that around here no more.
Oh, you can see him stepping back from it then. Okay, that's fine,
because
slow-mo.
When new regimes take over, that's where the most change happens.
Good point. New management signs in every window at every restaurant. I completely agree with that. Worry, you were going to say something on the subject as well.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I don't know who was talking about it when they said it could change the industry and people would, see value differently. That's not being done by accident. They want to do that. Microsoft has always done that when they enter a market. Instead of competing in a market, they just try and dominate it through the back door. They did it with Windows. They're doing it with Game Pass. They're taking these losses because they want to dominate the industry. The biggest problem is that when you assign value, when you're able to assign value to products in an industry, and that's what Microsoft wants to do. They're telling people don't buy games. They're telling people $70 isn't worth it. $60 isn't worth it. $15 a month is worth it. If they get that level of control where they could assign value, not only for their own games, but everyone else will just take a bag of money, then that's a hell of a lot of control over a market. That's what they're looking to do. And I know that sounds fanboyish, but that's what they do. They don't come into markets by competing. For instance, when they got into video games,
that kills gaming.
The reason they got into Xbox or video games in general wasn't because they wanted to contribute to the industry and join it. The reason they got into it is because early on with the PlayStation 2, there was a fear that PS2s were going to have Linux on them. And they were afraid of Linux beating them to the living room. So that's why they jumped in with Xbox. So right then and there's not this real big push to join this industry because you want to contribute to it. Now, they made some great decisions early on with the original Xbox because they had actual people who understood the market. Seamus Blackley, Ed Freeze, Robbie Bacchus. And then all of a sudden, they walk away from that. We're at the point now where instead of contributing and competing, there's no reason why a $1 trillion company cannot create something like a Horizon Zero Dawn or an answer to it. There's no reason why they can't create their own God of War. There's no reason why they can't create their own Last of Us. It's interesting when Microsoft says, there's no rights to military shooters. Like, you could just make your own Call of Duty. Well, you can go out right now. You can buy a bunch of leather and a bunch of string. But I promise you, if you make your own sneakers, you're not going to compete with Nike because they're already established. That's the same thing that Call of Duty is. There's no way in the world anybody can just create a shooter and have it instantly compete on day one with a brand that's been around and dominated a market for years and built up a fan base. It's just not going to happen. Microsoft knows that. Sony knows that. Instead, they want to control. And that's the biggest issue I have. I don't care if Sony has these relationships, quote unquote, with Square Enix, or they have these relationships with third parties, and maybe some games don't go anywhere else, because they're actually creating things. They're creating their way into my wallet instead of backdooring their way into my wallet. That's the problem I have.
Yeah. No, that's a great point.
I agree 1,000,000%. And
Jay, did we lose you? I know Jay's on the road.
Well, while Jay's getting his mic together, Mooch, I gotta run. I got some kids.
So the great Merc.
My wife is looking at me funny.
I'm already on. I'm probably on the shit list in the Asante house. I got to be honest with you. I always keep K way over. I do want to say thanks to everyone that's here. I know Slow-Mo's got to go.
Man. Friday night's date night. You know what I'm saying?
It's CrossFire night first. It warms you up. You're all warmed up, K. No, what's great is great panel, great chat. I got a couple super chats here. Slow-Mo, if you do have to go, please plug the channel. Great DPS as usual last night, buddy. But I'll let you plug before I read the super chats here.
Also appreciate you. Great panel. Had a lot of fun as usual. You know, shout out to Persona, Worry, K, Mooch. Enrique's gone. J Dub. You know, it's good to see Jay. I don't see Jay too often. But I appreciate being on with you guys. Cool chat as well. The chat was pretty awesome. You guys can check me on Slow-Mo Backslap is my channel, as well as my homie Gaming Forte. We do DPS podcast. That's Damage Per Second podcast, Thursday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Come check us out if you choose to. I appreciate it. Hope you guys enjoy your games. Have a great weekend.
Thank you, Slow-Mo. I do want to read some of these super chats here, and then I'll let the panel do their outros. Shout out to the real great Olomoka17 says PSVR2 is going to be insanely immersive. That's very true. Herpy Master, which came back, he said, Asante, they don't want to believe it. I'm going back a couple of topics, as you guys can see. He says, the Sony guys on the panel are on their feelings today. Herpy Master, give us a break. Kratos99 says, Mooch, you want to hear a joke? The best joke you heard in years. See, I don't know if Kratos wrote this right, but I'll read it as he wrote it. He said, Redfall cause it's destined to fall. So, Kratos, you're going to have to write that to me again on a Twitter DM. I don't think that came through the right way. But shout out to Kratos99. And again, shout out to DC Gaming.
I see what he was doing. Redfall is called Redfall because it's destined to fall.
Oh, okay. It's called. I'm sorry. Yes.
I see what he's doing.
Asante, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Shout out to Kratos again. Ricardo Ortiz with the $4 super chat. He didn't leave a message. But Ricardo, thank you so much. Moneybag97 says Sony invested in VR. Microsoft invested in cloud. Interesting. Moneybag97 comes back. He says Phil needs to drop games, but change Xbox positive way time. Positive way time will tell. We got to, guys, use a couple of apostrophes for me, will you? Time will tell, but honestly, Phil is not doing bad. It's just people want him to fail. I don't think anybody wants anybody to fail. And Phil came into control, right? Phil came into control in 2014. Here it is. We're at the start of 2023. He's almost been in charge of the ship for 10 years. It's not necessarily like you go, well, Mooch, give the guy a shot. I think a lot of people want him to do very well for the brand. The great Jimmy Harrison says, shout out to my brother, Worrywart. So shout out to Jimmy. Appreciate that. Moneybag97's back. He said, worry with hay. He says, the CMA says 74% of PlayStation players buy PlayStation because COD means a lot. Perks, early access, big. Jim knows this. PlayStation exclusives, not. It is COD. So he's basically saying COD is the reason for a lot. And don't get me wrong. There's a reason that Sony is definitely standing up to this acquisition. They know how much money they make from Call of Duty. But it also, actually, believe it or not, guys, it has a lot to do with what Worry was talking about with that backdooring effect. Kind of coming in and just buying everything out and making you turn to Xbox. Whether you were or weren't with free will, if your game is Call of Duty and Call of Duty's now on Game Pass, they're literally detouring you right into their possession.
Yeah, but I don't think people are going to give up all of the first-party Sony games to go pay $15 a month for Call of Duty. I just don't see that happening.
I don't think so
You know,
either.
but the logic of that makes no sense. Like people,
it doesn't make sense.
Like people think, oh, okay, let me dish this $500 box to go buy another $500 box to pay $15 a month. Like that logic makes no sense.
Exactly. Yeah, on that I agree. That's why when people are so up in arms about it, I'm like, they will do this. Sure, it may still be great. Sure, or it may be past its prime, but that won't change anything. Sony will still continue to release the amazing games they continue to release. Microsoft will still continue to try and hit that height that they haven't hit yet.
Right.
This won't change anything. So I don't understand why people are so up in arms about it.
So I'll throw the only curveball I can, and we don't have to get into a long conversation about it, but that's what you all said is very true. The curveball is, why stop there? Then Ubisoft, maybe then Capcom, maybe Sega one day. See, it's not necessarily the fact that it's just Call of Duty or it's Activision. It's a snowball effect.
I hear you, but as much shit as they are getting right now, I don't think you're ever going to see them do it. Well, at least at this scale.
It wouldn't happen. Again. Well, Kay, I'm with you there as well, but maybe we would say, we'll both agree to say within the next 5 years, but people forget things as time goes on, and then they'll do it again. And I don't ever think they'll stop.
Sure.
You know, I don't. I think it'll be, you know, but you are right. Yeah. They're not going to, they wouldn't get ABK and then buy Ubisoft next week. That's true. That's very true.
That's just not gonna, you know. And to your point, and we're not gonna go long, but you know, the thrashing they got for their and Worry brought that up. I'm also a Microsoft observer from way back. The thrashing they got from the EU about the browser situation way back then still shakes them to this very day. That's why they're so PR heavy right now. They don't ever want to be looked at as the quote unquote bad guy again, even though many people still look at them that way. So I don't think they turn around and go, okay, we done here. Let's go start buying another. You know, this will change their method for a long time. I think
it should hold them over.
Browser thing.
This is going to be interesting. Whatever happens in the next few weeks, that's going to transpire from these meetings that are coming up, because you know the CMA has been pretty clear that they've given them almost like 3 or 4 options, and the options are things that gamers don't really, would depend on what side of the coin you're on, don't like. Like they would either have to sell off the Blizzard part of it, they'd have to sell Call of Duty to a third party, and then they could take the King and the Candy Crush. And if it depends, wherever Microsoft's true interest, we're going to see where Microsoft's interests really are, because I think they're going to have to let go of a piece of it to get this thing done. The question is, what piece? We don't know that yet. You know what I mean? So
we are close to the end. So
we are close.
To actually it being ending. Finally.
Yes, this is we're in the final chapter, everybody. So stay tuned. Yes. Kratos99 says, if I was the leader of Xbox, I would fire everyone and shut Xbox down and put everything on PlayStation. Oh, Kratos, come on, for crying out loud. We need competition out there. We do need competition. Vibes Worldwide says, Microsoft saying that they can't make a Last of Us kind of game is disrespectful to the studios they have. Shake my head. Wasting the talent over there like Doc Rivers. I don't know how Doc got dragged into this. I don't think Doc had anything to do with it. But shout out to Vibes Worldwide. Guys, I want to say outstanding. I would say outstanding panel chat. What a show. Man, I got to tell you something. Just I sat here for a lot of it, and just I was not just a host. I was literally I was just in the chat myself enjoying this. What a great show. Let me go in reverse order here and say, Worry Wart, I know you're working tonight as well. You kind of came in when you could. I appreciate it. Let everybody know where they can find you. And I really do encourage a lot of people to listen to what Worry's saying and pay attention to his channel. He does some phenomenal videos and some great off the top comments that he's got, man. Just outstanding work. So Worry, let them know where they can find you, buddy.
Checks coming in the mail, Mooch.
Thank you.
YouTube and Twitter, WorryWartGamer.
That's great. Great. 2 postage stamps, please. Thank you so much. I appreciate that, Worry. It's good to have you here tonight, buddy. The great Kay Asante. Asante, as always, buddy, great to have you on the show, buddy. Love the takes. Whether you like it or not, you're just a natural at CrossFire. So, Asante, let people know where they can find you. And I'm very excited to hear what you're going to be thinking next week on the Last of Us reactions show. But go ahead, Asante. Let people know where they can find you, buddy.
Yeah. No, I appreciate the invite as usual. You know, I like to debate. I like to go back and forth. You know, sometimes we agree, sometimes we don't. But it's all about the thoughts and all about our opinions, and I'm good for it. So I appreciate all the folks that are on the panel. Some that I haven't podcasted before, some that I have. I really appreciate just the back and forth. I do appreciate it. So you can find me, K Asante, TKO Asante, on all the places you want to find me. Myself and Everborn Saga, the guy who was on last week getting slanderous. He and I host the show, the Gaming Circle Podcast, which actually comes on tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We as we do here, we document the games that are going on, the releases and stuff, and just talk about stuff that is getting us exciting in the news and all of that. So, it's a good way to start your Saturday mornings. We like it. We've been doing it for a little while, and we're growing little by little, and we appreciate all the folks that come and check us out. So thank you guys again for having me on.
Absolutely, Kay Santi. Please go over and check out the Gaming Circle on Saturday mornings with him and Everborn. Outstanding show. Kay, thanks for being here tonight, buddy. I appreciate it. The great J-Dub City. Jay, listen, I really appreciate you being on the show because, it looked like you had to head out for a bit there and you still managed to come back on the show. It's very hard to get people to leave. They go, Mooch, I gotta go. And then they come back on the show. So I truly appreciate that. And also, love the takes. Love what you do on Twitter. Twitter's not the same without you. Jay, the great J-Dub City. Jay, let people know where they can find you, buddy. And thanks for being here tonight.
Anytime, man. It's always great to chop it up with a great panel. Tell you what, man, you guys want to follow me, go to Twitter at JDubCity16. I'm always there. It's always humor, man. Just having fun with the console war. You know what I'm saying? Stop taking it so seriously. Stop following these executives around in their private jets. Come on, guys. Have fun.
That's great, dude. Honestly, Jay, thank you so much. And then my boy, Persona. Persona, listen, man, look it. I know you put a time aside on Friday to game, but I got to be honest with you. You're a natural as well on CrossFire, man. You just come on, and I got to be honest with you, the lights kick on. It gets warm in the room. Everyone needs an extra drink. I love it. Persona, as always, great to have you here. Electric energy. Love your thoughts on gaming. And like the one thing I always say, the one thing you and Jay always do on What's Up PlayStation is you talk about games. I watch your show because you get me to play games. You get me to look at games that I've never even seen or heard of. And then I check them out, and I'm like, that actually looks like a hell of a lot of fun. So, Persona, thanks for doing what you do in the community as well, and let people know where they can find you, buddy.
Yeah, man. First off, man, Mooch, shout out to you, bro. I always appreciate the invites, man, and it's always good to be here. Shout out to the panel as well, man. It was great conversations, great debates, great back and forth, man. At the end of the day, it's all fun and games, like this. I love talking about gaming. I love talking about this type of stuff. I love debating. It's always fun as well. So shout out to that. Shout out to the chat as well, man. Appreciate y'all rocking out. Make sure y'all hit that like button on the way out, man. Please. Get my boy Mooch to 400. It's 400 people in here. He should have 400 likes.
That's the
so
truth.
Definitely hit the like button, guys. And for me, man, I am Persona. You can follow me on Twitter at Persona Speaks. And you can check out What's Up PlayStation Podcast every Saturday, 11 a.m. Except for this Saturday. A lot of personal things this weekend. But next Saturday, we will be back. And definitely we'll be talking about VR and all that good stuff. So definitely go check out the What's Up PlayStation YouTube channel. That's where me and Barry do our Saturday morning podcast every Saturday morning at 11 a.m. And yeah, man, appreciate y'all, man. Have a great weekend. Be safe.
Thank you, Persona. I appreciate it. And quick shout out to BRAP, who had to leave early. That's BRAP_podcast. That's BRAP does his show Wednesday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern time. And the great Merc, man. I'm actually going to get Merc his, let me see if I can actually, there it is, at Merc305 plays. I didn't memorize his Twitch. Usually I'm really good at, or Twitter. I usually memorize everybody's, but that one I didn't have down. But shout out to Merc305. Just an outstanding panel member as well. Love his intake. Guys, again, I want to give a special shout out to the panel, the chat. The super chat was electric. Thank you guys. It means the world to me. Thank you again to Kratos99 and DC Gaming for gifting all those subs to the channel. It really, really means a lot. And honestly, I'm humbled and I can't say thank you enough. That being said, guys, Monday night, 7 p.m. Eastern, the reaction show for The Last of Us. We're doing episode 5 and 6. We didn't do last week because of the Super Bowl. The schedule was all thrown out of whack. We'll be back this Monday, 7 p.m. Got a full cast. It's going to be unbelievable. We're going to be talking about episodes 5 and 6 of The Last of Us on HBO. Please, guys, remember that. And go over and check me out on twitch.tv. It's Mooch TV everywhere. Drop the O's for zeros. Shout out to Boom, Boom, Kaboom. Noof Nookem's in the room. Guys, enjoy your weekend. We'll see you next Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern time. Peace out and good night.